and welcome to this special festive episode of Zapped to the Past. In the normal run of things, we would be discussing games that released for the Commodore 64, but this week we are putting our feet up, sinking a cup of solid nog, and enjoying one too many slices of plum bread as we talk about all things Christmas, what we've been enjoying in 2024, and maybe some rum and fruity stories from our younger days. As ever, I'm joined by the perpetual partridge in a pear tree, Mr. Graham Raddings.
How
are you this evening? You all right?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, happy. Yeah, we've got the baubles up and everything.
Oh, well done you. On this special occasion, though, we have also brought on a guest to cheer the hearts of all our listeners. Yes, tonight, and for one night only, thank God,
this year,
we are joined by the Leaping Lord himself, Mr. Gary Wilson. How are you? You all right?
Good evening to you both. I'm quite good. I've had a bit of a cold the past week, but other than that, I'm spiffing. Very glad to be here in your presence.
We're glad to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing pleases us more than having you here.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Never a chore.
Your little bearded egg. You're like a bearded egg on my video.
Here's a bit.
Listen,
anyway,
I've gone for the Navy SEAL bearded egg look, okay? It's very niche.
That's very, very niche. Anyway,
okay.
With no further ado, sit back, everyone, and enjoy the yearly event, which is becoming an annual tradition, the Zapped to the Past Christmas Cracker.
Woohoo!
There you go. How are you? You're all right? Let's have fun. It's Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas.
Or holiday season. It's holiday season for wherever you are, whatever. It's Christmas. And we
Christmas
thought we would
some.
put this special out for you to enjoy. So if you're looking for something to listen to on your Christmas day, then maybe listening to this.
Exactly. You're taking your dog for a walk on Christmas Day. It might be a new dog that you got for Christmas. They're for life, remember, by the way. For life. But they're, you might have it for Christmas and taking it for a walk. And you could be listening to us while you're walking the dog or riding your bike or both, if you're feeling clever.
Yeah, I've seen people riding bikes and walking dogs. I feel sorry for the dog.
Yeah, there's a guarantee that does it. And the dog always looks really, 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 like, knackered.
Yeah, he's not happy. They're not happy. Do you ride your bike and take your dog for a walk, Gary?
No, my dog really doesn't really like walking because greyhounds don't. They're really not happy walkers, to be honest. I certainly wouldn't be riding my bike with it. He would not be impressed with that.
They're not happy walkers. Isn't it a racing greyhound? Aren't they like runners?
It was a racing greyhound, yes. I've got his racing list. So no, he wouldn't be interested in doing such an activity.
Ah, fair enough. Can't win them all, bloody hell, no pleasing him.
Well, he never did win them all. That was the problem. He was then found out for blue.
No, but the thing is, with your with your stature, you could always ride that dog and be like He-Man riding Battle Cat.
Well, he is quite a big dog. Yes, he's quite tall. But I don't know whether that says more about me or the dog. I get where you're going. I see where you're going now.
I don't want to sort of ruin that for you, Gary. But he's not that big a dog. It just seems that big to you.
Okay.
You had to bring in realism to prevent him from actually doing that.
My life is like basically Land of the Giants or something, where I've been shrunk down. Oh, it's massive. It's a massive fork. No, that's just a fork.
It is true, though. It is true. You do have to have your cutlery specially cut.
Yes.
Wow.
I bet for a goof, actually, your wife's been buying you ever slightly larger cutlery for the last 10, 15 years. So now you're like, I'm definitely shrinking. These knives and forks are massive. And the plates are huge. And she's like, soon he'll think he's a midget, a tiny person.
Yeah. Well, she has been saying something about size, so maybe that was it.
Hey.
But it did say some fruity stories, but not that kind.
So there's a carry-on moment there. Someone just went, oh.
somewhere in the dark, a penny whistle was pulled.
I should have got one of those.
Anyway, it's Christmas. We've got lots to talk about. Anyone want to say anything before? We've got some stuff to do. We have things that we would like to say. We have an agenda, which is to rule the world. No, hang on. We have an agenda for the evening, and we've got some stuff to talk about. We've broken it down into categories, but I feel we may meander off topic.
I can guarantee that.
As we go through it, because I've got a beer. Because it's Christmas, has everyone else got a beer? Gary, you on the ale?
No, I drank 3 nights in a row, so I'm having a night off.
Choose now to have a night off.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, when he's not at work.
Well, I've got
as a delivery man.
I've got Christmas work drinks on Wednesday, so I've kind of I've got to,
we had ours last week, so yeah, and I feel your pain.
Oh well, yeah. I've got mine on. Well, not work ones, but I'm going out on Thursday, so that's my Christmas drinking, and hopefully I won't catch COVID again like I was the last 2 years.
You
COVID.
will. Wear masks.
Yes, you're a magnet for the COVID. Magnet.
I know. I am at Christmas.
You love the vid. Yeah,
Xmas COVID. Yeah, it's always good fun. So we start with our first category. Category for 10.
Yeah.
First thing. So films. We'll talk about some films. So this can be anything to do with films, but we thought any good films we've watched this year that you'd like to mention. There may not have to be. For one thing, just as a proviso, so people aren't going, come out this year, we don't care. If we watched it this year for the first time, then it's all good.
I think that's fair.
So, so if we didn't, that's it. So films, what we got? Anyone want to go first? Anyone want to sort of bring up a film? I think there's the one at the top there that we all kind of wrote.
Well, yeah, because I think if out of all the films this year, and I tell you what, right, I've had a bit of a revelation with films this year, and I've suddenly realised that loads of them are really boring. Like there's like an AI script generator, and it's just churning out Blumhouse movies one after another, and they're dreary pieces of garbage. So when one comes along that's a bit out there and refreshing, and then Gary's discovered some quite interesting stuff about that as well. The Substance is what I would add to the let's talk about that list, because it's quite extraordinary, I felt.
Yeah, I did get around to watching it. It's a film.
Now, the first thing I would want to note was that when I first mentioned this, Gary, you was all set to take your wife to see it. How did that go?
I kind of gave her a basic description of what it was about, and she said, "No bloody way am I watching this." So it was kind of an easy call for me, because obviously it's in our ballpark of what we actually like, and the background of the kind of body horror that is actually The Substance. And The Substance is really curious because it's basically a working title film. It came from the people who made Love Actually and all those other rom-coms, and they funded it. It was basically a French film shot in France, all of it in France, standing in for America, but with a French director, with a French crew, shot in English. And I believe in the 204-page script or something that the director wrote, there was only 29 pages of dialogue.
That's correct.
And that basically is the film. It's basically a silent film. You could basically run it without any kind of dialogue, because you can tell the story through the images. And if no one's ever seen, we'd recommend that everybody who listens to your podcast watches The Substance, because you're going to need a strong stomach. But actually, it's telling some fairly dark things about modern life. It's a kind of a parable about how people age, how we see ourselves in society, and how we are reflected back in society, and in a pretty intense way.
Just a bit. I mean, I saw a version, shall we say, that became available through the medium of the internet and the world.
Magic and Wonder.
I regret not going to see it at the cinema, actually, first off. And there's actually, out of the two films that I wanted to just talk about, I regret not being able to see both of them at the cinema. And there's two reasons why I didn't go to the cinema. One, because I didn't go, because by the time I'd come to realise that I wanted to see it, I think it was in its dying days and gone. And secondly, I hate cinemas now. I can't stand them. And I tried and I can't do it. But I do regret not being able to have that experience in the cinema with an audience, because I feel that's probably the best way you're going to really capture the insanity of that film. And I haven't seen a film that body strange. What do you call it? Body horror? Is it
body
so?
Horror,
I've not seen that. I haven't seen a film that visceral with body horror since probably that. What was that one with all the people merging together that we watched back in the 80s?
Society.
I remember that had that icky kind of gooey people vibe, didn't like this one does, and maybe The Thing as well a little bit, and been there as well.
The Thing, yeah. I think the Society had a very big influence on this person. It's very similar with the graphic effects, and I think we need to talk about Demi Moore, to be honest.
Yeah, just a bit extraordinary.
I kind of flicked through it again today, and I had a look at it, and her performance is really daring, and she's done quite a few daring things over the year. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that she's one of the great actresses, but actually with The Substance, she's opened herself up. She's quite explicitly put herself in the front of the lens, literally naked, and given a great performance, I think. And I think Demi Moore holds the film together. She's the gravy that cements the meal that is The Substance. I think she's the one that really is what you remember.
That's a lovely compliment. Demi Moore, gravy.
Well, I emailed her that and she didn't respond to it, so I don't know whether she did like it or not.
She blocked you on all social media as well.
So it is fantastic, and I think as well the point about The Substance is that it is a silent film and it is quite hard work all the way through it sometimes. But it does. I think it could have lost 20 minutes. It does overrate its pudding a little bit, but that's not to detract from actually. And I was curious that all three of us came back with that film. Like, what's your films that you remember this year? The Substance.
Well, I think it's hard to forget, if I'm honest. It was such a refreshing pace, such a refreshing change. I don't know if you've read about how the script was written as well, but she writes the script like Shane Black wrote scripts. So she writes onomatopoeically in the script. So boom, bang, splat, and all of that. She writes that as in the sort of the dialogue as she's writing it. So with this scene's really splatty, and she writes exactly like that. And she doesn't allow a lot of development of the character. The characters aren't given a lot of information to go off either. So they kind of have to find their own way with it. Quite an interesting way of pulling it all together. Did you guys watch the first film that she made, that Revenge?
Yeah, I'd watched that a few years ago, and I
think
I've
seen
an awful lot about it. It was quite bloody.
Very.
I think she's in it's kind of a spinning off from the New French Extremity. She's very influenced by those directors who made like films like Martyrs, Haute Tension, Inside, and so on and so on. So she's definitely coming from that direction, maybe with a bit more brains with it. I think in this film, there's more brains in The Substance, well, literally, than Revenge. I think Revenge is a thriller in its own little world. There's quite gruesome moments, but it is a thriller. The Substance takes, she's on a different planet, really, isn't she, compared to that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you go from that, which was, like you said, violent, bloody, Kill Billy, wasn't it? And sort of, bit of on that kind of footing, I suppose. You go from that then to this, because The Substance is a second film, isn't it? She's done other stuff in TV and shorts, but
Revenge, yeah.
But to go from that to that and just have now, because I was reading about it, and apparently this was shown to a test screening was shown to the executives of the Universal, I think it was, the studio, who promptly told them that it was disgusting and that it needed to be re-edited because it was awful. She'd actually in her contract, she'd contractually embedded herself to have final editing rights, which is a very clever move. So that even if they had have suggested editing changes, she had the final say. So in the end, it got bought by, I think, basically a streaming TV network bought the global rights to distribute it. Is it Mubi or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Because no studio would touch it, which is just stupid. And then now look, it went to Cannes, didn't it? Did very well. But I know we've managed to say all of this and haven't actually said anything about the film. But I think that's challenging because without
you need to watch it.
You need to watch it because you could give too much away very easily. And I don't really want to do that. I want people to you have to experience it completely. If you haven't heard anything about it, go in cold because it will literally blow your mind. It did for me, and I was absolutely, which is why it's top of my list to talk about because I was gobsmacked by it. And that's been my prevailing. The reason I think it's at the top of all, because what a bland year for horror movies it's been generally in the 2024. Films like this, as much as it's body horror, they stand out because it is very different. It's shot very starkly. It's got a very nice tonality to it, but more importantly, it's just bloody better and better paced than half of these really dull, drawn out films. I know there's a few that you and I and us three all disagree on for various different questions, but I mean that's the way it is. But I've not come across many of these Blumhouse style ones yet that I haven't just met already of these remakes, these crappy the Halloweens and all of those remakes that they keep doing, which are just utterly rubbish. So I'm not seeing many original ideas. That one comes along, and then you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. So that's why I thought I'd put it there.
I think a lot of these films nowadays, and I think I mentioned this, we were texting each other. They just rely on the kind of the screechy scare with an edit. So there's an edit and a screech. Smile did it quite a lot, and Smile 2, which was much better than the first one. I think, Adrian, you mentioned this, Smile 2.
Yeah, I do want to talk about Smile 2.
I think a lot of these movies just rely on this cut that's meant to scare you, and they're very, very, very bloody. You know, we need to remember how gory TV and these films are. You know, they're just incredibly graphic. And I don't know whether that's because we've become desensitized to quite a chunk of it, which is a bit odd to say that, because obviously 20, 30 years ago, we were talking about, oh, you can't desensitize people. We believe in free expression, etc., etc. They should be as gory as possibly can. But now, you know, post-ISIS, post the fact that you can watch people being blown up in all kinds of ways and mutilated and murdered in real life.
Channels are you watching? Subscribe to different channels.
Gary TV.
It's all
Videodrome.
It's all. You know, the killing fields of the world is presented here for everyone to see via the medium of the internet. And now these films, like Terrifier 3, there's no film there other than just
I've
violence.
given them a miss. I have no interest in them.
There's violence. There's nothing to them. It's brain dead.
Yeah,
I think
incredibly bloody.
Just to sort of come back to substance before we move on, or maybe not. I think the thing that you sort of alluded to but didn't actually say was, you mentioned the French new wave horror films came out. Yeah, you're Inside, all those loads, Frontiers, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, this one is different because it's directed and written by a woman, and I think that shows. So I think it's a strong,
it's a
feminist
woman's
text.
Story. Yeah.
So I think that actually comes through, and I think that's what it is, and I think it makes it different, makes it more interesting, and makes for a different view of the subject matter. I think if this was done by a man, it would be very, very different. Because there's parts of this where I was like, the view of the camera made me quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
As there was parts of this film, something I was like, I don't want to watch. This is. I'm not talking about the gore here. I'm talking about the other bits. There's a lot of this. It was like, what's that video? Can't get no satisfaction. The one with the old cameras and stuff. Those. It's
touch me.
Just like,
Don't want to touch me.
And so when I was watching it, I was like, oh, God, Lord. I don't. But I get the point it's making. And so,
you know, the male characters are grotesque, aren't they? Dennis Quaid.
Yeah. Oh, he's awful.
Just grotesque.
And it's awful as well. Like the schlub next door, who thinks he can just hit on the beautiful woman that he becomes, and he's like, oh, we'll just go out here because look at me, I'm a man, so you must like me. It's like, oh, dude, you're awful.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I think that's fair enough, and I think the whole thing is like, I think Graham, you were about to say that the original cast for that was Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta, he died 3 months into filming, so they replaced him.
He thought the script was so grotesque, he had to die to get out of doing it. That was how bad it is.
I bet they kept that in if they could.
It's a change of pace for Dennis Quaid, I'll say that, but he's really good in it.
Yeah,
he is. He's grotesque, isn't it?
Yeah,
Everything
absolutely.
About him and his performance is just sweaty and greasy and vile and everything else, and that's all specifically, as you say, it's done. And the prosthetics in it, and I never realised until afterwards that Margaret Qualley's, I don't know how you pronounce it, so I apologise. Is it Qualley or Qualley? And she's the daughter of Andy McDowell. Throughout the film, she has fake breasts.
Yeah, I
mean, just the prosthetics in this film are just beyond belief.
It's 85 to 90% of the effects are practical in that film. There's only really the eyeball
tiny
is
bit
digital.
Of CGI.
Yep.
A tiny bit of CGI, and it is just what they're doing nowadays is just incredible.
Did the ending part though remind you of the intestines from Brain Dead?
Not
where they're scooching along the floor. I was like, there's practical. I'm about the practical effect because it just there's the intestines bit where they go. Or I was just like, that reminds you of Brain Dead.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, the whole end sequence reminded a little bit the sheer volume of what happens. That reminded me of Suspiria, the remake of Suspiria at the end of that. That's quite like that.
But also, when I watched it again today, I actually realised the kind of homage type effect to actually it was Carrie.
Yeah.
I was like, this is like Carrie, and I thought, here we go, another kind of homage.
Yeah,
great.
Very good. And you also, Gary, you noted the film Seconds, a 1966 film, and I'd not come across that till you mentioned it, and then I did a little bit of digging, and I was actually now a film I've that's completely missed me, and that sounds absolutely amazing and fascinating.
I've never seen it, and I read a review of The Substance that referred to Seconds. Now, Seconds is a 1966 John Frankenheimer film, and John Frankenheimer is one of Hollywood's kind of 50s, 60s great talents of all time. And he made The Manchurian Candidate and is it 14 Nights in May, 7 Nights in May, whatever it is, the film about the Cold War. And I'd never seen it, never come across it.
No.
And it's a beautifully shot by James Wong Howe, black and white, beautifully done in CinemaScope. Looks utterly, utterly fantastic. And I see what they were saying about it, actually, because the whole thing about The Substance and Seconds both dovetail with the fact that people grow old and want to change their life.
Yep.
And when they change their life, it all goes belly up, even though apparently it's gone for the better. And it tells a story in Seconds where there's a middle-aged guy, he has a fairly humdrum marriage, very Norman Rockwell kind of house, relationship with his family, and he thinks, I've had enough of this. He thinks about killing himself. And then he was able to come in, and it is basically a science fiction film without much science fiction. It's shot practically for the sake it looks modern, but it is sci-fi. There's an agency who can completely change him, create him a new life, and he will go off into the sunset in a glorious finale. So who isn't going to say no to that? So off he goes, and he becomes Rock Hudson. So he starts off with this humdrum, middle-aged, very average fella, and becomes a pin-up, and everyone loves him. And then he realizes actually it's not quite how he imagined it. And I won't go too deep into it, but from that point, there's a whole bunch of twists and turns. And I don't know if either of you actually watched. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it.
I haven't seen it.
I did.
mean, there's a whole series of twists and turns in the last third that you go, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that. Actually, that was, okay. That's very good. The script is beautifully done. I mean,
it's really good.
And I love finding these little films that you've never seen, and you come across them, and you're like, I wish I found that. But I was going to say, I wish I'd found that 20, 30 years ago. But actually, I think, what was I watching the other week? What was Kubrick's one with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman? Eyes Wide Shut. And I didn't like that 20 odd years ago when I watched it. And I watched it again the last couple of years. And actually, I realised that you get films or stories or books that fit your time of being. And I didn't understand Eyes Wide Shut, and I possibly wouldn't have understood Seconds either 20, 30 years ago. So I needed to have been this age, my middle age, to actually understand the whole point and the whole, some of Eyes Wide Shut killed me. You were like, oh my God, I would never have got that relationship business between a man and a woman like 20, 30 years ago, because I've never had those full-on relationships between a man and a woman. And now you're like, I see exactly what's happening. And that I think that's what, and the fact that the dovetailing between Substance and Seconds, so I recommend your podcast people do a movie drone double bill.
I would definitely watch them. By the way, Eyes Wide Shut, there's a drinking game you can play with that if you're into drinking games, which is you have to have a drink every time Tom Cruise repeats the same line in the film that someone just said to him.
What, if you've got to remember what if you said like half an hour ago, how are you going to remember that he said it?
No. In the film, somebody will say to Tom Cruise, and the line will be like, I need to get a coat. And Tom Cruise will go, you need to get a coat. And he has this habit of repeating every line almost back to the very people who say it to him. Next time you watch it, just see it, you'll notice it.
It's quite a long film. I'll probably be pissed by the end of it.
Well, that's the plan, isn't it? And that's why it's a drinking game.
Or dead. Depends what you drink. Don't do spirits.
No, don't.
No.
Precious spirits.
Well, have a little sherry with it. So I remember those two films. I also liked VHS Beyond, and I love all the VHS films. Some are better than others.
How many are there now?
Too many.
There's about 8, 9 of them.
Good Lord.
They started off fantastic. There was a bit of a slump in the middle. For people who don't know, the VHS films are an anthology series of films that are basically found footage. So they're shot by people on their phones or CCTV or whatever. And every single one has that basic tenet is it's a paranormal stroke, mysterious stroke, UFO stroke, serial killer, whatever the business is. It has to be shot by and they really do push the envelope. And you sit there thinking, really? Put the phone down, that wouldn't be happening. And I think in one of them that they put the camera onto a dog that goes up into a UFO and it's strapped to the back of the dog, which is beamed up. And I think these films are fantastic. And VHS Beyond actually was one of the better ones from the last few years. Who doesn't want to see a giant stork being shot at by a bunch of Navy SEAL type people who are being murdered by
A giant
zombies and
stork, like a bird.
Stork, yeah, like a stork, and it goes around eating babies and stuff. And this is the kind of stuff they do. It's bonkers.
I've not seen that.
Bonkers. It is mad. Mad.
Bonkers.
So that was one of my other favourites of the year, and there was a lot of other. Like you said, Graham, I think there's a lot of chaff amongst the wheat.
Yeah,
really.
there is. I mean, I watched the stuff, but I did want to speak about. I know you mentioned it, Bruce, in passing, just briefly. Smile 2. I watched the first one. The first one's fine. The first one is what it is. It's not brilliant, but I thought the second one actually did some really interesting stuff, and I really enjoyed the second one. There's some great set pieces in it. The sequence with the dancers in the room when they're all when she's hallucinating the dancers, I think is just generally one of the best filmic sequences I've seen in ages. The way that was all done, and it's just so well choreographed. And there's just some really good sequences. That opening section is really good. You think it's going one way and it completely wrong foots you. I think it was way better than I thought it was going to be. Smile 2. I thought it was going to be quite formulaic, but I think the way that they took it and the ending genuinely made me go, oh, that's good. That ending's great. Because I thought you're right about the ending. I did think the last 2 minutes I was like, oh, I see what they've done here now. Really clever, really good.
I see what they've done now.
But I just thought it was really well shot. There's some beautiful cinematography, some beautiful camera work.
No argument there.
And things like that. So I just thought it went in a direction I was not expecting. And
Which is the theme.
And I was quite. That's what pleased me the most, shall we say?
Yeah, there was a familiarity towards the end of the substance in it as well. I felt they were both in the same ballparks. They were both at big events, and there was something happening at that event, and there was and I quite liked it for that. I quite liked it to take it to those things and really do it. If you're going to do it like that. Yeah, and I also like the fact that you don't see the final act; you just see the reaction, which I thought was really well. I thought that's a cleverly. Your brain is always going to imagine worse. Yeah. And it was just really different to the first one. There could have been a Blumhouse, boring, more people are smiling and stuff, and just that bit. But that was always the great thing about the first one, is that it wasn't really about that. That was just the carrying of the thing, but it wasn't just solely about people, because there is another film where people develop kind of not a smile, but there's another one, I forget what it's called. It's the idea is the same. There's some kind of curse that passes amongst people. But that just sticks to that. It doesn't actually develop any further and just murders and jump scares. This does take it to that next level. And this one is a completely different story, and oddly set in an odd way as well. And the parameters of the film are really odd, which I thought was very refreshing. Good to see things like that, isn't it?
I didn't realise until afterwards that the lead actress was she was in one of the Disney remakes as Aladdin or something, wasn't it? One of those other ones.
Was she Aladdin?
Almost unrecognisable. Well, she wasn't Aladdin. She was the love interest of Aladdin.
She's in one of them. Yeah, she's one
Jasmine,
of them.
Yeah, I think she was Jasmine. Yeah. So that was good to see. But the Smile 2 thing, Naomi Scott. Yeah, this whole thing. I thought there was way too many jump cut scares with the screech, like the bit in the mirror with the hands that go into her mouth. And constantly low. Maybe if they cut a third of those out, there was a lot of them, and I was like, oh, it's just.
I don't know, because I thought like that for a while as well, right, Gary? Because I was thinking, actually, and then it suddenly occurred to me that they set all those up to completely defy your expectations of what is going to come. So, because what comes is nothing like any of that, and I quite like that. So you think it just comes as a bit more of a shock. I was just, I mean, I like maybe there was a bit too many, but I think the idea is that they get you used to a kind of horror, and then they completely subvert it towards the end.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And like we said, the ending is, we can't say anything about it, but
don't ruin it.
It is absolutely, you think, oh, okay, fair enough. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. More importantly, though, she was in 2 episodes of Lewis.
Well, there you go. Now we know she is. Now we know.
There you go. So if you don't know what Lewis is, that was the follow-on to Inspector Morse.
Oh.
After he's dead, wasn't it? It's after what's his name was dead, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was.
Bit of murder, Lewis.
So periodically, Lewis to turn and go, "What do you think?" Oh,
I'm sad again.
He's not here, and I'm never going to solve this crime without him.
No, you're not. Graham, you've got a question, though. I see you've got a question here for us. What's this question?
Yes, so the question is an easy one, really. Well, it's easy but difficult. Christmas Bond films. But what is the best Christmas Bond film? And I say this because even this very year, in the Radio Times, there's a list of all the Christmas Bonds, and I've put a link to it. We'll put a link in the show agenda, whatever it is for this. But every year was a Bond movie, normally on ITV. What's your favourite Christmas Bond film, you guys?
Oh, I don't know.
I think the thing about Bond in the 80s when we were growing up, so say between the ages of, 8, 9, 10 to about 16, 17, 18, so on, we're watching them back in a certain light. We're sitting there with a little can of Kestrel, or we're sitting there with playing...
When did you start drinking, Gary? This is very concerning.
Well,
when I was 6.
When I was 8 or 9.
Oh, I was about to say, you're sitting
did have a little can.
You're sitting there with a whole bunch of sweets on your lap.
Big can to him.
Bond. It's a super can.
It's like 2 pints.
This normal sized hand comes and picks it up between his thumb and forefinger. Oh, look at that.
I'm just how God made me to.
Go on, Gary. What were you doing with your tiny Kestrel?
God help us. Sitting there with your chocolates and everything else, and you're looking back and you think, you see Bond in a different way. So, I was looking through one of the links that you sent through that I'm sure you put up. There's a whole list of the times and the years and the date and the whatever. 1980, the premiere of The Man with the Golden Gun at 6 o'clock on Christmas Day.
Right,
and then it does a rundown. So Dr. No, Moonraker quite a bit, Spy Who Loved Me, and so on. But they didn't seem, quite a lot of them, they'd already been on 2 years before.
Yeah.
So they'd already been on telly. Nowadays, you think, well, the Christmas Day has to be a big old film, doesn't it? It's never been on telly before, like The Greatest Showman or the brand new Bond or whatever. So maybe they were viewed through that particular lens. And I would probably have said The Spy Who Loved Me was probably everybody remembers the opening 10 minutes, the sequence on the skis.
Yeah, apart from those people who made the game.
Yeah, they don't remember anything about it.
I forgot about that bit.
I mean, it's just iconic. And at the end of the day, that's probably... And then, of course, I remember one Christmas you got the Moonraker toy. So what was I, 9, 10? What was Moonraker? 81, was it? Something like that? Or was it a bit earlier than that? But so... you had the Moonraker toys, you had the Lotus. Was that The Spy Who Loved Me, the Lotus? I
think it was, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So those are the toys that I had so if we're talking Christmas stuff, then those are the films that you're going to remember, really, aren't you?
Moonraker, but Spy Who Loved Me for me as well. I think that's the one I remember from that period. It was on twice looking at this list, 1983 and 1987. Oof. But,
and strangely enough, they seem to have pit a load of old crap against it, like the Paul Daniels Magic Show and so on.
That was big money. That was back then. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was Christmas entertainment.
The alarm just went off on Davy McGee's desk. Someone's saying something bad about Paul, but not a lot, just enough.
Just enough, yeah. I've kind of gone off. I think Bond has become way too. I don't know, the Daniel Craig films, they're way too polished. I want I want it to be like a little bit anarchic and a little bit ramshackle and a little bit, they're just, everyone's too.
Yeah, when a film franchise takes over $1 billion, they're never going to be that way again. Skyfall changed everything basically.
I still think, I remember saying this to you 20 years ago, I think they should have given Bond to an auteur writer-director team for every single Bond and started from scratch from the same one. So you got a John Woo Bond, you got a Christopher Nolan Bond, you got whatever, and every film had its own identity. I can't tell any of the last 5 Daniel Craig films other than the last half an hour of the last one for obvious reasons. I couldn't tell you what happened, which film was Eva Green in. I have no idea.
Trouble is, Gary, they tried that in TV. We got Russ Abbott and Basildon Bond. Your plan was executed and failed horribly. Don't deviate from the Bond.
Yeah, I remember the one with Bella Emberg in.
With Bella Emberg, Eva Green or Bella Embek. No disrespect to Mrs. Embek, but that's a battle she's not going to win.
Well, he wouldn't have enough gold in his bloody fort, would he, to bloody kill her? If he paints her in gold, he'd be like, is she ever going to die? We're ever going to run out of gold, this woman? She's massive. Use to pour me gold reserves. Bless you, Bella.
I'm just gold fingernail now. Gold fingertip.
So was your consensus then the Spy Who Loved Me? Was that?
Spy,
yeah.
I think the Spy Who Loved Me is the perfect Bond.
Closely followed by
80s,
Man with the
90s.
Golden Gun.
Well, okay. But for Christmas Day,
I like Man with the Golden Gun.
yeah, no, but a Christmas Day Bond is different from a monthly Bond.
Yeah, I suppose Spy Who Loved Me because it has the wintry opening.
I mean, I hate the film.
Exactly.
And then goes to Egypt.
Which one's the one with the? I think I hate to say it, even though I hate the film, but Moonraker's probably my favourite Christmas Bond.
Yeah, because it was crap. You could take the piss out of it.
Yeah. And I just remember
the whole thing is.
And it's just got so many stupid sequences that on Christmas Day, the pigeon does a double take and all that stuff. And then he's got he scoots around Venice on an inflatable gondola and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's
true.
Pure Christmas entertainment.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think the best Christmas Bond probably that.
Yeah, the crappier they are, the better you're going to have. The better time you'll have with them.
That is crap,
Really?
though, isn't it? Really crap.
But like Christmas Day shouldn't be po-faced. You should be talking to each other and laughing and joking. Not let's sit down and watch a serious movie. Nobody talk.
The very last gag of that film is that I think he's attempting re-entry, sir. And I remember my dad going, like laughing at that. Like it's one for the dads there, just a joke for the dads. So it's a bit of thing for everybody.
Yeah,
it's a crowd pleaser at the end of the day.
Yeah, they tried to redo that, didn't they? In what was the Pierce Brosnan one with Christmas Jones, Dr. Christmas?
Oh yeah.
I thought Christmas only came once a year or something.
Yes, so even you saying it makes it's bad cheese. That.
Yeah, I know.
I thought Christmas only came once a year. Wink, wink. She has, yeah.
I think I'd forgotten most of the Pierce Brosnan films because they're really bad.
So was he, thankfully.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, he don't remember anything about him.
Yeah.
I like Pierce Brosnan, but those films, they were just awful.
Yeah, I liked him until he painted my shed, and he did such a crap job. I'm never hiring him again. He can bloody bugger off. Bloody idiot. Two coats Bronson.
Did you want a green?
It's Bronson.
Yeah, the same difference.
You hired the wrong person. Pierce Bronson. Pierce Bronson is not Pierce Brosnan.
I can't hire Pierce Brosnan.
You hired the wrong guy.
That
you were
explains
James
it.
Bond. Yes, I was.
Why, yes, I was. Yes. Anyway, don't hire him. Whatever you do.
He made you look through a hole in the fence while he walked past with a paintbrush and did the Bond thing at you.
You've got dark thoughts.
So that kind of spins off to your next question, Graham, is what makes a good Christmas Day movie? And I think I've kind of answered a little bit that is something that is entertaining, something where for a Christmas film, and there's like all different ages, you've got to be able to sit there and all of you understand it. So you can't sit there and watch Christopher Nolan's Interstellar.
Yeah, I better reschedule the Substance for this year, haven't I?
No, exactly. So it's got to be enjoyable. You've got to be able to take the piss out of it. And you've got to be able to all of you basically like understand what's going on. Like it's got to be like a Back to the Future type thing or E.T.
You've got to be able to view the film from basically laying flat on your back, looking over your stomach, which is probably bulging with dinner. So you've got to be able to watch this from the ultimate slouch position. So you sort of slumped on the sofa, not really been able to take it in just in a brown fug, because that's where you're going to be. Yeah, and just lay there
with a little cushion on your back, on the back of your
exactly.
head. Oh, Graham, did you want another Kestrel? Oh, I don't think so. Maybe 20 minutes.
I didn't drink Kestrel as a child.
Times have moved on, Gary. Even back then, I didn't drink Kestrel.
Bloody Kestrel.
I was a Kestrel drinker.
Harp. Stay sharp to the bottom of the glass. Bit of harp. Yeah. But no, yes. So what makes a Christmas Day movie? I think the ability to watch it, but not watch it. I think you're exactly right. All the family can get something from it. or not. I mean, the big movie this year, for example, on the BBC is a Wallace and Gromit film, a new one. That is like the perfect Christmas type film. Everyone gets something from it. There's a joke in there for mum and dad. The kids love it because it's silly. That. But there's some type. One year was E.T., I think, and Back to the Future, I think, was one year, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
it's got to be a family.
I think one of the Indiana Jones movies was on Christmas Day, and I have a feeling it was Temple of Doom. Now, that would have gone horribly wrong, wouldn't it?
It would be heavily censored for Christmas Day.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just pulled out his hat. I didn't expect that.
Pass me one of them bloody Quality Streets.
Oh, and then he spat out my kestrel.
So did he.
And me drink. And me drink.
So I can't think of it. Well, there must be other family-friendly. I mean, it's not
Jaws. There's loads.
You're in the George Lucas Spielberg kind of.
Any of the Star Wars movies, of course, they made it. One or two of them had made it to Christmas Day, I think, and stuff like that. But you've also got the Miracle on 34th Street, those kind of movies. The genuine kids movies. Yeah, Scrooge. Well, that would be on Christmas Day, but
Superman 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That'd be good.
When superhero movies were good.
Superman 3, yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, classic. Yeah.
Superman 4. Nobody remembers Christmas that year.
No, that was
the
Channel
Christmas 5. Wrong.
ITV2's first Christmas, I think that one.
Yeah.
The turkey was burnt. Superman 4 was on the telly. There was no kestrel in the box.
It all went wrong. It all went horribly wrong. But yeah, I think you're right. So that's what I think constitutes a good Christmas movie. Is it's your ability to keep a family in a room space on a day when you've just had loads of presents and toys, and there's you've got it's a still moving place in a very busy day, which is quite an interesting thing.
It doesn't matter if there's the gadgets are going off like Simon or Astro Wars, Galaxy 1000.
Simon, I'm picturing some robot friend of yours. Simon, for goodness sake, will you stop interrupting? I'm trying to watch this film.
Sorry, Gary. Trying to think of a product that is kind of bleeped.
Yeah, Simon.
Commodore 64 on the table in the back room.
It's terrifying. Blinking Simon. Oh, Simon, all you do is blink. You do nothing else.
Astro Wars, one of those sort of game things where you're bleeping and blooping on them. Big track running over your feet.
Yeah,
very slowly.
Yeah.
Or you'd be doing silent play with your action figures, right on the carpet underneath at the bottom towards the TV, but in the middle of the room when you'd be doing some, probably putting the outfits on them and crawling them about and doing sort of action, stuff as a kid. But you were never at the height where it would disturb the eye level of everyone in the room who was probably not even watching it anyway. So
no, they were all falling asleep. Everyone was falling asleep.
And of course, back then, in the 80s, people smoked in their houses. They don't so much now. So our house was like it was almost like there was a fucking alien egg going to hatch at any point because there was like a film of smoke halfway across the room on a permanent basis, which existed principally from Christmas Eve through to after New Year. So we're not sure what was hatched in that room. Nothing good.
Nothing good. No, nothing's ever good. There we go. I think that's it for films. I think we've exhausted that. That's a good topic. Let's move along. I'm probably going to hand over to you on this one because I don't listen to it anymore. But music. So music podcast, anything you want to talk about music and podcasts for Christmas this year, go for it. What have you been up to? What have you been listening to?
Goodness.
Gary, you're the music meister.
I don't think it's been an overly great year, to be honest. 2024, looking at the lists, a lot of the rock acts. There was a relatively disappointing Nick Cave album that came out. I love Nick Cave, but the one that came out a couple of months ago was slightly underwhelming. I think it may be a very slow burn with that one. There's a lot of the rock stuff, Fontaine's DC, David Gilmour. There's a lot of rock acts. The stuff that didn't appeal wasn't great. So I kind of edged towards my favourite album of the year as a throwback and from an act. My album of the year was an act that has a very punchy nomenclature of Warrington Runcorn Newtown Development Plan.
Okay,
which is
catchy.
taken from like a 60s pamphlet of about how to redesign the northwest of England. And this guy and that goes back to, he's probably our age actually. He's making music in the style. The album is called Your Community Hub, and basically it's a load of samples. He's made albums of 5-6 albums of this kind of sound. It's modular synthesizers in the style of Vangelis, Tangerine Dream, and he's a massive throwback to the period, say 79, 84, 85, and it was really quite enjoyable, I have to say. You have to really kind of like that kind of stuff, but it's very cinematic. If you put it, like the first track on this album, if you put it on your speakers, it could be the start of a film. It is beautifully done. It could be the credits to like a Ridley Scott film or something like that. So that was my album of the year. There's a few other things. The guy from Low, whose wife unfortunately passed a couple of years ago, came back as an industrial electronic group. Alan Sparhawk with an album called White Roses My God, which was quite intense, very dark, very glitchy, very brooding, which you could only imagine came from the fact that he's obviously gone through a little bit of grief recently. And my other one was a fantastic group called Public Service Broadcasting, who take samples with an album called The Last Flight, which is the story of Amelia Earhart's last flight. Again, very cinematic, very post-rock, very laden with emotion. All three of them were actually a little bit similar in the content, but the rest of the year, I wasn't overly impressed. Anyone else with stuff that was out there?
No, do you know, I looked over the lists of like the albums, the Spotify, the Apple Music. By the way, just as a note, my Spotify list, you know, it does that summary of your year on Spotify. Mine was a blatant fucking lie. It's nothing to do with me. I don't know what happened. It's like honestly, it could not be more wrong than it is. So I was trying to think why, and it turns out, of course, my Spotify account is linked to the Alexas in the house. So whenever anyone wants to put music on, they ask Alexa, and Alexa puts on, and it tunes into my Spotify. So what's he called? Ed Sheeran was my number one artist of the year. I'm like, I can tell you, it's not true. It's just not true.
Really?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, but the rest of the top 20 songs on Apple Music, on Spotify of the year, and the top 20 global hits, I had not heard knowingly of a single one of them. Now, I'm not. That's not to say I haven't heard them, because I probably have. But if you ask me what Shaboozey, a bar song, or Hosier's Too Sweet, or Taylor Swift's Cruel Summer sounds like, unless you hummed it to me and I recognised it, I'd be completely lost. And I think that says more about me, that I'm so completely out of touch. Which also explains when I'm DJ, where people come and ask me for songs, I have no idea what you mean. Which I need to probably up my game a little bit there, because I feel like I'm yeah. But that said, the kind of music I'm playing in there, I can talk about in a minute, which is very different, non-chart related stuff, because that will never make it into these Spotify lists ever in a billion years. So,
living in a household with a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old, when I looked at that Spotify list, that's basically, you know, what is played in the car when we're out there. That bloody Sabrina Carpenter drives me nuts. Anne-Marie, Hosier, you know, just and you know, we were talking about Chapel Roan. I mean, she is huge at the minute, Chapel Roan. I mean, massive.
Probably.
I mean, and some of them are quite good. Chapel Roan. She's about 16 or something like that.
I had a quick listen, and it's a synth poppy friendly pop. Not for me. Yeah,
and it plays quite. I mean, they're very well produced, very well put together, but they're quite bouncy, and it's basically music for the TikTok generation. There's a hook to it. There's something that the kids or people can get attached to, like "Hot to Go" by Chapel Roan. There's that the whole thing of "Hot to Go," hot to go, HOTT to go, HOTT. Come on, you know, it's bouncy, they're all fun stuff.
Well, that sealed its fate for me.
Jesus, Barry baritone back by unpopular demand.
You need to go and listen to HOTT, hot to go.
I don't.
No, I don't. I feel I just heard it, so I have no need.
Well, there's not that much more to it, to be honest. But
good.
But we're talking crazy figures. Like, I was looking at somebody like crazy. The National have just had a new album out, and on the first day they had some on Spotify like 3,000 streams. And you're talking Sabrina Carpenter, and the song of the year on Spotify was getting 4 million streams a day.
Yeah, but let's put this
This
into
is
context.
stupid.
These people are very clever and canny with the way that they program this out there on TikTok and things like that. So because it gets heard and listened to repeatedly on TikTok in little 30-second snippets, which then people go and
That's
get it,
right.
and there's a relationship between the two. And I think my question to you actually would be, or question and statement on both of those things, is that represents the amount of opportunities that somebody has to encounter that. But does that equate to how often it is actually listened to? Now, I bet if you ask a lot of these people, they haven't heard the full track. But most people have heard about 30 seconds of it. But that just tells you, doesn't it, that then if that's the case, then half of these things are probably written by an AI, probably produced and written by an AI at some level.
Yeah, the songs, it's actually an interesting point because there's not really much to the song. It's the same loop, like you said. You get a loop, you change a few of the lyrics, and it goes on for 3 minutes. So it's a hook. They're hooks for a generation of reels and threads and TikToks.
Yep.
That are played incessantly. Presumably those Spotify figures and all whatever, like you said, are somehow improved by simply the amount of clicks that they get.
Yeah.
You know, there's an absolute correlation between all the rap albums and even Taylor Swift's new albums having like 30 odd tracks, because 30 odd tracks on a single is 30 streams every time you listen to it.
Correct.
You know,
you got to play the game.
There's 30 income streams immediately just from one listen of the whole album.
It is about coverage, isn't it? It's exactly that. It's about coverage, because they don't really make any money off their streams, particularly any of the artists, not unless they own the rights to the songs, and even then they'd probably get a fairly small chunk of the revenue.
Yeah.
But the sales for concerts and things like that, that's where the big money comes in. So the more tickets you can sell by 30-second sound bites, that turnaround from profit is insane, right? So I guess that's why they do it. You know, if you've got 1 billion downloads or 1 billion streams or whatever, then you've got, that's going to guarantee you 1 million ticket sales for a concert somewhere, if not 500 million. And that's it. That's it. Money made for the rest of your life.
Well, they are. I mean, I think the Chapel Rowan and all the others at the moment are going on tour the next few years, and they're asking kids to pay 130 quid a ticket minimum.
They will, and they will pay it.
It's crazy. It's just
parents will.
It is. So,
yeah, exactly.
So I'm happy but sad to say that I haven't heard any of the current songs, and I couldn't name you one if I wanted. However, what I will say is this year has been a year where I've discovered on SoundCloud. I spend a lot of time on SoundCloud because I quite like you get a lot of really interesting mixes and remixes and just new. The democratization of the creation of music is a very powerful thing in the world. Everyone can get a half decent laptop, download themselves a DAW with a few free plugins, and before long you could be creating a fairly presentable track, a music track, and that's given birth to lots of boring, repetitious crap. But as is always the case, amongst all of that, there's some real gems out there, and on SoundCloud and other platforms like that, Bandcamp is another one. There's an opportunity for people to deploy those and get them out there, which is a very powerful thing to be able to do still. And so I spend quite a bit of time on there listening to some acts that just will never get in anywhere. They're not ever going to get there anywhere. They're on Spotify sometimes, but generally speaking, it's just somebody mixing something. I discovered some amazing techno remixes and mixes, and then that's led me to the artists that are creating those, which primarily live on things like Beatport and Beatsource and things like that. And there's some amazing artists. Hi-Lo is a genuinely brilliant one, and there's a whole bunch of them. We'll put a link to a few in the show notes. If you like that kind of music, I can link you to a good whole series of those. Now, Beatport and Beatsource have their own regular circulation of top tracks that are downloaded by DJs and downloaded for clubs and things like that. It's a paid-for subscription service, as are most of these. But the good news there is that they circulate that themselves. So it's not like it's the same, because I imagine these charts pretty much stay the same, or the variations of them, because it looks to me like those artists just jockey for position in the same 20 tracks. At least with that, you get a circulation of new stuff. There's new music coming out all the time. And some of the peak techno, some of the new trance, which is now, and because these things go in full circle, so peak techno is now really what trance was in back 2000. New trance is kind of where trance was back in probably the late 90s. So they go in full circle. So they've gone back to what made them quite interesting originally, because the peak time for trance and techno and things like that was around mid to late 90s. And then it all went a bit happy house and hard house, and it all went a bit umpire band really, and not very interesting, and lots of acts got in on it, and it just became massively, similar robo production. It's gone back a little bit, and there's a bit more thought. So you're getting more film samples thrown in. The pace of them is dropped right down. There's a bit more melody and melancholy in them. So it's quite nice to go back to revisit them. So I'll put some links to that. Other than that, one thing I wanted to ask you guys about was Christmas in the 90s. Because Gary, you put in there the Christmas number ones of the 90s, and I was actually blown away that 3 of those were Spice Girls tracks.
I know, I couldn't believe that. I thought...
Yeah, sounds about right. I wouldn't believe that.
3 years in a row. I mean...
Yeah. They were massive. They were the biggest thing around in the UK.
They're unbelievable to have 3 in a row. I mean, then I looked further down. The Lad Baby, the recent one, he had 5 in a row. I mean, that was like crazy. I mean, but the 90s, I mean, other than Whitney, I mean, it's a fairly dreary list, isn't it?
Well,
really?
It made me laugh because we were discussing recently, Gary. I know you were listening to the podcast, so you probably know, but we were discussing the fact that on Christmas Day I think it was a Cliff Richard song, and by New Year's Day it was Iron Maiden. Bring your daughter to the sun.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I noticed in your first one you got 1990 was Saviour's Day, Cliff Richard. 1991, Bohemian Rhapsody, and then it's like 1992, I Will Always Love You, Whitney Houston, which must have been part of its 10 million year run. Then the next year was Mr. Blobby.
Mr. Blobby, what is that all about? Who bought that rubbish?
I know, who did buy that?
Mr. Blobby on.
Same people bought the Stonk and stuff like that by Hale and Pace. And
I know, but that was just a charity record. Maybe Mr. Blobby was. Then it's Stay Another Day by E17. Do you know that was the second release of that, wasn't it? They released it the first time, and it was hated. And then they put Christmas bells on it, and then the video put them in white coats and filmed it, made it, and put snow effects on it, and it went to number 1 for Christmas.
Yeah. Just to come back to Mr. Blobby, I think it's we were about 2021 when this came out. It's hard to sort of really think actually and remember just how popular Noel Edmonds' House Party was.
Yeah, true.
It was hugely popular. It was the most popular TV show at the time. Everybody watched it. Saturday, Christmas specials, everything. Mr. Blobby was this crazy phenomenon. It just put that up for Christmas.
It was an armed penis with spots, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a early dry run for the Teletubbies.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
but it's it was huge, and it was just one of those UK TV phenomenons. So
popular with kids.
A cash-in novelty single in this country, don't we?
Oh, totally. And we all know who was cashing in with Mr. Blobby, don't we? Simon Cowell was the producer there.
Yeah.
My God.
So, in fact, he was probably in a suit.
Earth Song by Michael Jackson.
Oh, don't. I have nightmares about that for many reasons, the least of which is that my stupid uni roommate was having sex with some girl he'd picked up in a nightclub to that song. It was on repeat. I know he smashed his bloody door down and fire extinguished at both of them.
But then for the next 3 years, two become one, too much, and goodbye. It sounds like it's like the Ernest Hemingway saddest story in 6 words.
That is the story of a relationship, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say
it's too much. Bye.
That's someone's Tinder dating in 3 steps. That.
I like that. There we go. That was the Spice Girls in a nutshell, really. And then Westlife. Westlife.
Yeah. Again, what was the point of them?
If you didn't like Boyzone.
Exactly. Maybe that's it. But yeah, you put, Gary, an awful list, and you're exactly right. That just tells you everything about the 90s charts at Christmas, doesn't it, really, that list? I mean, besides the Queen, maybe, but whatever.
But the Queen thing, was that because of his death, or was it because of Wayne's World?
Yeah, no, it's because of his death.
At the end of 90.
It's got to be because it's got These Are the Days of Our Lives, doesn't it? Which was kind of was that one of the last songs he sang on it?
Yeah, we're into 91, aren't we, for the podcast? He dies at the end of 91. Yeah, it would have been a posthumous release.
Yeah,
just after he died, just after Freddie Mercury died.
Yeah, because These Are the Days of Our Lives was a sad song. But it was also I think that's other than I'm Going Slightly Mad. He looks horrid in the video. Yeah, so unless that was a compilation by that point of other clips, I don't know. Anyway, but there you go. So final thing I wanted to point out to you guys, I found some images of Gullivers from Grimsby, which I knew would bring back immediate memories for you, particularly of the grubby, dirty dance floor that was in there. But because obviously at this point, we might have been at Gulliver's during Christmas at some point.
Oh God, yeah. So
definitely. So at some point you were on that dance floor Headbutting
More than
people.
likely.
I assume because you headbutted somebody on that dance floor. I think if I'm rightly, Aid.
Accidentally. I was moshing.
Actually,
I got him off worse. I had a massive bloody nose. I headbutted the back of their head. I was just stupid. So,
I didn't actually remember the booths in that middle photograph and on the left towards the opposite where the bar was. I had no memory that there were booths.
oh yeah, what? They're opposite.
there.
There's the barricade between them, not barricade, but there's the ledge. There's the bar between them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That sort of bit where you stood at.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's the two booths in that thing. Yeah.
I had forgotten about those.
Yes, there was. Yeah, it's an unusual dance floor, to say the least.
There's mirrors.
It was all.
So tacky. No expense spent in there, was there?
No.
And what made me laugh is I was trying to think of all the things, what happened in there. I mean, obviously, within reason. But so we've played several gigs in that space.
Yeah, we have.
One of us, at least all of us, have at least one time thrown up on that dance floor. Probably more than once.
Not me, sir.
At least all of us have got off with a girl on that dance floor probably more than once. We've also, I was just thinking that how many times we've we've nearly had a dust up on there, or probably have had a dust up on there. How many times you've been thrown out and been dragged off there and chucked out before now?
I was only thrown out once. That's because I was going to be sick in the toilet. That's when you gave me those. That's when you fed me those 6 months out of date crisps before we went out.
But blame me for it. Yeah,
It wasn't
the 9 gallons of vodka you drank.
It was 5 pints of diesel on top of.
Yeah.
But it was
it was the diesel that did it.
6. Well, I drank 5 pints of diesel every week. It was fine.
It was the crisps. Of course
you
it
gave
was.
me 6 months
Looks
out
like
of date
we ever
crisps.
did it with
You
the
gave them
crisps.
to me, and you went, "Have these? Do you want some crisps?" I was like, "Yeah, all right." And I ate them, and you went, "They're 6 months out of date." I went, "No, you damn you!" And then later on, I was vomiting.
You need to build up resilience to all bacteria and germs. I was helping you. But also, I was thinking, because we did gigs there, and then those mirrors were always a bit of a hazard, weren't they? Because when you were drunk, it got quite dangerous when you were dancing about. Gary, you DJ'd in there one time.
I did, yes.
We also, one of our mates DJ'd in there and played the Conan the Barbarian soundtrack, for God's sake. Which was Rick. I ended up putting on a night in there which invited every happy hardcore nut from Grimsby in there when they had a kind of a massive drug party, which went out of control. That wasn't fun for anybody that night, let me tell you.
No.
To call the cops to get all this idiot teenagers out. So I'm just thinking all of the crazy stuff that's happened in that space. And it is a tiny space. I mean, we're talking what? The size of the dance floor must be there maybe 5 meters by 5 meters. I'm pushing it at that, maybe 6 meters by 6, would you say? So 36 square meters.
A little bit bigger than that, I think. It's bigger than that. But
I don't know that it was.
It's not massive. It's not massive.
No.
That bloody speaker in the corner took up loads of space, didn't it?
It did, yeah. And you notice, so this must be because they used to have TVs mounted on the ceiling there where we used to watch. They used to put the music videos on, and then that's obviously after that. But the first one, the black and white picture, that's the earliest because that's the old dance floor. If you look at it, that's pre when they redid the floor, and it's got the old wooden surround and a record player. So that must be like well early on. So
yeah, that's probably pre our time, I think, because I think it was CDs when we went.
So, but there you go.
But doesn't this kind of like dovetail into the whole notion of a Christmas Eve going out, like when you're like 18, 19, 20, Christmas Eve. Even though you go out every other Saturday, do the same thing. You're like, it's Christmas Eve, we're going out.
We had to, though, didn't we?
Well,
and we always went to the same places.
Going out. Going out. Oh, yeah, going out. Brilliant. Then you get there and be like, what are you doing? I'll have a couple of pints. Well, you did that last week. Yeah, but it's Christmas Eve. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, do you remember it? Because we used to go out, right? And if we went to certain pubs, you always felt like it was a bit of a stranger in the pub, even though we'd been there loads. So, because we were that regular in the barge that we wouldn't be, we wouldn't matter if we went in there. But if we deviated over to the what was called it's now called the old Lloyd's in Grimsby, but Lloyd's in Grimsby at the time, before they had the stupid cavalcade of arsehole pubs at the back, whatever they were called. But before all that, when you went in the old Lloyd's, it was a bit like you were the Lloyd's, you were a bit considered like, what are we doing in here? It feels weird to be in here. It's like, it's in our turf.
Oh, no.
Turf, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's like they never forgave us for putting disc corrosion on 9 times in a row and leaving.
It was the original rocker bar, wasn't it, Lloyd's, back then? The barge was kind of more of an indie scene, wasn't it? It was for a while, and then it went a bit weird. But
it was the goth bar, wasn't it? It was the goth metal bar.
It was, yeah.
Goth, yeah. And so
it was the alternative venue, yeah. No,
And then we'd go there,
we didn't.
We'd go there a week later and go in on New Year's Eve. Oh, it's New Year's Eve, got to get out. Oh, where are we going? Barge.
Oh, do you know?
Like
bad
you do every
memories
other
of being in
week.
there.
Yeah, but this was the time. Remember, you'd have to get there for 7 to make sure you got a table.
Yeah,
because it was always very, very busy. And then because then it closed at 11. It closed at 11. You had 4 hours to drink as much as you could.
And we did. Bloody well did. God, I've never drank so much Newcastle Brown in my life. I don't drink it really. I don't drink it all really now, but I certainly don't drink Newcastle Brown. But
you still get it?
Never.
You still get it?
No, I mentioned it's nice. It's probably a decent
beer, I guess,
but I don't really know much about it.
All the pubs out there still sell it. You don't remember much about it.
It's literally the taste of brown, isn't it? Really, it's just
you'd love
brown.
It
then. It's like
it's the C64's favourite beer.
It's it's
the weakened version of the blood that powers the robots in Halloween 3. It's just like it's the stuff they can't use. It's too thin. We can't use that in the robots. Just bottle it and sell it. Call it Newcastle Brown. People will drink that.
Just sticking it up with some Bisto.
But it was. I remember drinking. That was kind of my go-to drink of choice for a long time in there. Then it went over to what was the beer? What was the lager? The draft lager they served in there for years. It was.
God knows.
Would have been Carlin, I think, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would have been Carlin, I think. Foster's.
No, do you remember at the time we were going out, you had 2 versions of beers, and you know why that was? You had a Tennent's regular and a Tennent's extra. You had a Carlsberg,
yeah, that's right,
and you had and then you had a Heineken, and then a Heineken extra or Heineken, whatever it was.
Yeah,
do you know why that was? That was because in this country we only ever got the regular stuff, which is about 3.5%. It was specially brewed for us crap Brits who couldn't take strong beer from Europe. And then, round about the late 80s, they thought, oh my God, let's sell them the proper stuff that actually you can get in Spain and Denmark and wherever they brewed it. Yeah. And then they brought it over here and called it extra. So you go, oh, can I have a pint of Tenneyeki? Or can I have a pint of Carlsberg Super?
And the net result
was pissed up, puking everywhere.
Yeah, football hooliganism and domestic violence, I think, was the outcome of that.
Yeah,
which had 2 albums by Public Service Broadcasting as well, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, because that's right. Because I don't remember drinking Stella back then or anything like. I don't remember there being Stella then. But
this is something I heard of the other day, and I don't know if you remember this. But have you ever heard of the Red Witch drink?
No.
Well, this was so popular back then as well. I found out the other day. It was a diesel, so lager, cider, and blackcurrant with a Pimm's.
Ooh. No.
It was called the Red Witch.
I bet it was.
Yeah, you could
bartend, add me the Pimm's.
Pimm's.
Yeah, I was talking to
Red Witches for all my friends.
I was talking to Bill, the guy who owns Willie's, the other day, and he was talking about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I think someone's thrown up in there. And they've had a Red Witch." I was like, "Oh
my God!"
I thought it was blood.
God. No wonder they threw up.
But yeah, so it's so you add. It's like a diesel's not bad enough.
They would add something as gormless as Pimm's. It's
stupid. But no, I never really drank diesel or snake bite and blackcurrant, whatever you want to call it. I drank snake bite many times, and I had that green drink on occasion. I think probably more in the Pier 39, which was that one with the blue caraseo, whatever you pronounce that, blue whatever it is, and snake bite, which essentially turns it green.
Yeah,
that wasn't very nice though.
I was a diesel drinker all night long.
Yes,
occasional cider.
Yeah, we went through a cider phase. I think everyone does.
Yeah, everyone does.
And Gulliver's had weird ciders. Do you remember at that collection of weird ciders that like there was one like in a TNT shaped like dynamite bottle, and there was loads of weird ones they had in there.
Well, if you wanted the proper cider, you'd go to the Tap and Spile for the Scrumpy.
Oh yeah. Bloody no, that was knockout.
Dangerous. That was
bloody dangerous. Tell me about it.
Two pints of that, and you couldn't feel your legs.
Look, if you were feeling really, really crazy, you'd sneak off with some of the other demigoths and you'd head to the Schnapps barge for a pint of the old German bowel loosener, and then you have a couple of them. You'd have to walk past the Lincoln Castle to get to that. By the time you tried to stagger back, you'd have a brain wrong before you got back.
You would, especially when Gary tries to drink a yard of ale in there. The wrong way.
That's where we were for your birthday, wasn't it? That's where we were. Was that 1990? Was that year? Was that? It was, yeah. Here we go. Mad.
It was 18. Was I 18? No, was I 20? I can't remember.
21, I think.
No, I wasn't 18. No, it wasn't 18. The Schnapps barge was 21.
Yeah, I thought it was.
21. Yeah, 21, definitely. A bit older then, been working.
Yeah, it was just before we moved away, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, so
It was, yeah.
93. Yeah.
Yeah, it was because you had your mates from college there, didn't you? Even if they weren't invited, they showed up.
Oh, I can't remember. I just remember it all got a bit rambunctious.
That's what way of putting it. Let's not do anything that gets us litigated against.
No, I just have vague memories of you. We had that girl there that you broke the foot of. Or should I say, she tripped on coming out the stairs of the barge and broke a foot, and you laughed at her. Turns out, but she was there though, wasn't she? Carol, was it? She was there.
No, Carol, not Carol. No, there was the other woman from the pub who turned up with her boyfriend, who then
Claire.
Claire. That's right, Gorgeous Claire was there and having a chat to her, and then her boyfriend took umbrage at something I said.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I wonder what that could have been, Gary.
I think we all know what that could. I know we all know what that was. But yeah, because what's his name? Wayne showed up there, didn't he? And what was his daughter's name? And I think you had a real thing for her for ages, didn't you?
Sophie, yeah, I love Sophie.
Yeah,
Very
Sophie.
Nice.
Everyone loved Sophie, mate. She was beautiful.
Everybody.
She's a beautiful soul as well. Beautiful soul.
Anyway, enough of Gary's teenage and early 20-somethings crushes. There you go. That's good. That's music. Let's take a quick break, I suppose, and then we'll come back. We've still got more stuff to talk about.
More.
And we are back. Hopefully, you're still enjoying a nice brew. You may still be walking the dog. Who knows? You may be having a nice Christmas snifter. Hopefully, not a red witch, because it sounds positively dreadful. We're going to move on.
Cracker.
You could have pulled a cracker. You could have,
like Gary on Christmas Eve 3 years ago. Hey.
Yeah. Hey. 3 years ago. Hello. Don't tell the
wife. She knows. You can't hide anything. We're going to talk about anything we've read or books this year. Any good reading you've read this year? What you done? What you been gauging the brain knowledge-wise? What you done?
I haven't really read much, to be honest. And most of the time when I do read, it's normally on the toilet when I get like 10 minutes just to sit down and have some respite from the world. So I go through like mostly musician autobiographies. I go through one like every 3 months because it takes me that long to read them, because
I thought that's the long shit you're having.
In 10 minute whatever. So I read Mark Almond's autobiography. That was the last one I read, actually.
Yeah.
Very honest indeed. Very funny. Very honest. Yeah, other than that, not a lot really. I tend to read music magazines on the toilet. Other than that, that's my life. Thank you.
All right. Graham, you?
Well, outside of, I read a lot of books for work. So I've got a load of books that I have to read for that, around all sorts of stuff I won't bore you with. All good though. But I also, I just wanted to do a little shout out really to one of our patrons, which is David Hearn, writer.com, which is his full name, as you know. But he released a book this year, which was Prattlebots, which is excellent. I'd recommend that. And also, of course, he did the famous Escape from the Commodore 64, which name mentions as characters in it, which are, similoids of people you may be talking to right now, Gary. So they're both very good, but they're both excellent reads. And he's actually been writing, I think he still writes scripts and stuff like that. So you never know, one of these things might get optioned into a movie or something one day in this crazy world, or a TV show maybe. But Prattlebots was a really good read, and I bought that straight away. And he doesn't charge a lot for them, and I'm not plugging them unnecessarily. He doesn't charge a lot for his talents, I think. But there's some really good reading to be had from Prattlebots. I really enjoyed that. It's a good laugh. And Escape from the Commodore 64, of course, classic. So those are the things. Those are sort of the fun books I've read by somebody that I actually know, which is nice. There's also that we had another one of our patrons had sent us a copy of their book, which was one with all the various sort of deep, dark depth computer machines that had existed that we never even heard of, including Mike Vintage Tech. Yeah. So and his book, which is all about the early computers, including The Sword of Japan, which we've mentioned a few times in the podcast, and amongst many others. That was an interesting read. Although you need to be into that stuff, but it is very good. Now, the other one I want to mention in terms of sort of books about stuff that we, are to do with us really in some ways. There's 3 books that have been produced now. There's the most recent one is called the AGA years, but there's 3 books on the demo scene for the Amiga. Now, this may not be necessarily wholly applicable to you guys because you weren't big Amiga users. Obviously, I was a bigger Amiga user. But these 3 books have come out. So there's actually, technically, there's 4, but there's 3, which are the 3. There's the Amiga demo scene, the early days, there's the AGA years and beyond, and now there's a new one, which is kind of the sort of the next generation of demos. These are really nice, sort of a triplicate of books, but they're all about the demo scene, big screen grabs of all the images and the pixel painting and the amazing logo design. And there's another book that they released, which is just about the logo designs of all the various demo groups that were on the Amiga, because there is some outstanding pixel painted graphics that have been done for these productions. And I just wanted to sort of take a moment just to show a bit of appreciation for that, because I think it doesn't get, and this includes the C64, although those books are specifically about the Amiga. This is a call out really to why isn't there a big colour book about the C64 demo scene? Somebody will probably do one now. But
is there not one? I thought there was one.
Not one in, I think there's some, but there's not one like that, which is, I think, and these are really nice. They're more of a smaller format book, but they're really nice. They're beautifully glossy images. They're just really nicely done. And they remind me of the bitmap books that are like that as well. So that all the hard sell of the technical aspects of the book. They're just genuinely good reads written by the sceners, interviewing a lot of the sceners of the time, many of whom we probably wouldn't have even heard of necessarily, because we were more about the products and what we saw, but less about the people who were behind them to some extent in terms of names. But there's the big names in there, the Silence are in there and the people like that. Now, the other good thing about all of that is, again, like I said, a shout out just for those amazing people who drew all the drawings and paintings for those. Now, the easy thing to think of would be that they scanned a lot of those images in. I can tell you they do not. Those images I would say 99.9% of the images in Amiga demos are hand-drawn by somebody with Deluxe Paint or an equivalent tool. And there's one of them where there's an image that's genuinely amazing of like kind of an angel woman with wings, obviously naked or whatever, kind of the oeuvre of the thing. But it shows you the process they go through, taking it from line art with a mouse to drawing it to shading to color it in to put the. It is astonishing. Astonishing how they do it. I mean, I can't draw a bloody peanut, let alone anything else. But these are amazing books. So I find a lot of those kind of books quite refreshing because they're an interesting look at that demo scene. Because now it's kind of, unless you know where to look and you've got emulators and stuff, the demos are just kind of lost, apart from YouTube, they're getting a bit lost in time. They've released all the time. Demos are being released still all the time on all these computers. And unless you're part of the niche audience that enjoys them, these amazing visual productions of what they are, these mini Koyaanisqatsis, if you like, that are out there in some ways, they're just getting lost in time. And these books are quite important to sort of make sure that the attention that they should be getting is out there. So they're not cheap books in terms of shipping. That's the only downside to them, because I think they're shipped from somewhere in the middle of Europe. But they are very well written and they are very good. And it's probably worth a flutter if you fancy it. They're from Edition 64K. I'll whack the link in the show notes. So that was just, those are the kind of books I've been looking at, those kind of things. And another shout out, by the way, to the bitmap guys. Their books are genuinely amazing. They are. The bitmap productions. They're just, I think it's bitmap. Is it bitmap? I think it's bitmap. But we'll put a link to that. We'll put a link to them in the show notes as well. They're just great, big, massive, glossy books with really lush printouts in, which is what you want for when you're looking at graphics and things, isn't it? You want that bit of that.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
There you go. That's me done.
Okay. I've 2 series basically have taken up most of my year. I worked through, I'm still working through it, sort of thing, but The Expanse. So I'm reading The Expanse. I don't know if you've watched the TV show. It's on Amazon Prime.
I haven't yet. I've watched the first ones.
Yeah, they're very, very good. The books are excellent. Big sort of sci-fi space opera, but sort of hard sci-fi in kind of how kind of what they do. They're just really good. I'm not usually a massive sci-fi fan, but these have been really, really good. So I'm working my way through them, and then I'm working my way through as a counterpoint to them is the girl with the insert dragon tattoo type books. I'm working through all of those. Okay. So I'm on the 6th one of those. It's a weird read actually.
Oh my God.
7. There's a 7th one. 7.
How many tattoos can she have?
7.
Well, because the weird thing is, obviously, the first 3 were written by Stieg Larsson, then he died before they came out. Yeah, he died before they came out, and so he missed. Wow. He didn't get any of the sort of fame, fortune, or anything from them. He was a journalist, and then they came out. They were big, and then this guy called David Lagerkrantz, I think his name is. So he's taken over. They're different, but they're still quite all right. So I've been reading them. I did get very angry because I watched the adaptation of The Girl in the Spider's Web, the film, and it's it's one of the most egregious adaptations I've ever seen in my life, because it absolutely does away with entirely the first trilogy of books in the first scene. It like completely undermines exactly what the point of those first 3 books is. Like her relationship with her father just gets rid of that in the first scene. I'm like, you can't just do that. The books don't. The books carry on, but the film was like, and it tried to change her into like a Jason Bourne type character. Really bad, really, really bad. So don't watch Girl in the Spider's Web. Whatever you do, read the book. It's all right.
Fair enough. I won't.
But yeah, so they've been taking up my time this year. They're quite, because I don't get massive amounts of time to read, because obviously working, podcasting, it's just finding the time. Usually it's like a chapter when I go to bed or something. Working my way through.
It is too much shame that I've virtually stopped reading the last 5, 6, 7 years.
But with you, Gary, that means you're not going to the toilet as much, and that's a bigger concern.
Absolutely.
Eat more dates. You'll be reading like you've never believed.
Anglian water are thankful, but
yeah, exactly.
But
I love a good read. I love a good read.
We used to read a lot earlier, and got a question regarding that, I see here, Graham.
Yes, I did. So, because back then you were both, in my estimation, big horror book readers, right? And I actually wasn't. I don't think I'd even picked up a horror book unless out of morbid curiosity, but I certainly was no reader of them, I can tell you that. So I'd be interested to know what both of your like classic horror reads of the 90s were.
Well, more like the 80s, I think.
Well, yeah, 80s, 90s. 80s, the period of time.
I remember we used to get stuff from the library a lot. Both of us.
I loved the library. I used to go to the library. I'd literally
steal everything they had.
Hours and hours and hours. I used to walk between all the libraries between the age of about 14 to about 18.
Yeah, you did walk the libraries.
That's a long walk. Books.
Yeah,
Did you not go home that time?
How far away were they?
Did your mum not wonder where you were? Well, he went out 3 years ago, said he was off to the library, came back with that beard.
Well, one time I went to the library and I had a Parallax time slip.
Oh, that was hilarious. That was hilarious.
So you went out the wrong entrance.
That's what really happened. But Gary thought he'd time warped to another part of the town.
I time warped into some strange loop. It was weird. Hey, it happened.
You went out the back door.
No, there's no such thing as a back door at Grand Thorwood Library now. Come on, there's just one door in and one door out. And I came out, and it was in a different location. I was like, this is odd. This is very odd.
It's like it was snow on the ground, like Narnia, one might say.
Yes. Anyway, but yeah, I used to walk around, and I used to get. I was introduced to Dean R. Coots. Then he's now known as Dean Coots, and I read a book called Night Chills.
What was he doing in the library?
I thought it
time slip.
Pervious, like weird. The basic premise is that strange things are happening where people have mind control over this town, and it like, without giving too much away, it's about there's something in the water.
What was the title again? Sorry,
Night Chills.
I
think you can spoiler it, Gary. It's like 30. It's 40 years old,
and it was so. And then obviously from that point onwards, we just got into Dean Koontz. So there was a whole set of books that he did in the 80s that were just fantastic. There was Lightning, Watchers,
Demon Seed.
Lightning, actually, you had Lightning, though, didn't you, Graham?
Because you recommended it, and I got it, and then we made a C64 demo called Lightning because of it.
It was so clever, and I still think about it now, about the premise of Lightning.
Time travel. It would have made a great film, and it never made it, did it?
Incredible film, and Dean Koontz has never had his fair due from the filmmakers, I have to say. But also, there was loads of them about that time. There was James Herbert, there was Graham Masterson, there was Ramsey Campbell, there was loads. Ramsey Campbell.
Stephen King goes without saying. Sean
Hudson, yeah. Clive Barker, obviously. There was loads
Clive
at that
Barker,
time. It was just genuinely inventive writing as much as anything. Just because it was horror wdidn't mean it wasn't inventive. And
so what were the big books you were reading then, and what was the big ones that you sort of left their legacy mark on you.
The big, I mean, if we're talking size-wise, you got stuff like it. Weave World was Clive Barker's Weave World.
I meant more in kind of impact more than volume of pages, but
but Weave World in and of itself, it was a big old book. But Weave World, because Clive Barker was obviously he was gay, and that informed a lot of his writing. So for a sort of like you sort of early, late 80s, early 90s, it kind of like it was different to your typical James Herbert's and Sean Hodgson stuff, which was very, straight male finds white woman. They usually have sex at some point and then horrific things happen. That's what their books were kind of about.
Sounds like Gary's dating profile again.
It really does. But I always found Clive Barker stuff, because obviously he did Hellraiser, and you could see that kind of stuff in Hellraiser and things. S&M sadistic stuff. Yeah, so you can see that stuff running through his work. So I always found his stuff quite interesting and different. He had a different kind of look and an outlook and a view. His Books of Blood series I thought were excellent as well. They were really good. Some really great stories in them. What about you, Gary?
Yeah, it was an exciting time actually to be reading it, and I thought there was some fantastic stuff. And then obviously you went to uni, and then it kind of slowed down a bit because you were. But I think in the 90s I stopped reading horror novels and I started to read more adult fiction, if you know what I mean. I remember reading The Buddha of Suburbia.
Top shelf,
I thought you meant top shelf then. I was like, Reader's Wives.
Wink, wink. Adult fiction, wink, wink.
I knocked on this door and said, I've got a big package for you, love.
She said, that's a big spanner. Well. I agreed with her, it was, because it was the largest one in the set.
Absolutely. 22 millimetre.
End. The end.
Anyway, I started to read other books.
Dirty kitchen sink drama.
And so I didn't read a lot of horror fiction in the 90s. I tried to read things like Far from the Madding Crowd. I tried to better myself.
I remember that period you went through where you got all pretentious.
Yeah, absolutely.
He went all like, "Oh, I'm reading this now. I'm reading some." I was like, "I'm reading." No. You tried to. I remember you tried to read Ulysses, didn't you, by James Joyce?
I got about 100 pages in. I thought I can't be doing this anymore.
I was like, "What are you reading that for?" I was like, "Oh, I feel I should read it." I was like, "Knock yourself out."
Yeah, I did.
I think I was reading the Dragonlance novels again. I got through
that.
I
read in the 90s, and then I tried to better myself. You see,
you did. Nothing wrong with that.
No, but going back, the Buddha of Suburbia. I remember I was sitting there in my student days, and I was laughing my head off. I remember my flatmate at the time turned around and said, "Why are you laughing at a book? Like what?" It's just bloody funny. How can you not laugh at it? Oh, I've never laughed at a book once. That wasn't you, Adrian. It was someone else.
No, it wouldn't have been, because I would often laughing at Terry Pratchett. So I love Terry Pratchett stuff. Terry Pratchett's an incredible writer. Very funny.
I never got into that kind of Terry Pratchett or Neil Gaiman type.
I didn't like Gaiman. Gaiman's not funny, but Pratchett is very clever, and his use of parody of the real world, what he did to sort of point out things about the real world and fantasy, really, really clever. They're not fantasy books per se, they're commentary on real life, and that's what made them all good.
Fantastical story.
Yeah, that's what made them all the better for it, and that's why they're funny, but I think the Herbert stuff, the Rats trilogy was always a good one. If I had to pick anything that stuck out, and the early Stephen King before he forgot how to finish a book.
Oh, okay.
So that would be for me. There we go.
So, good potted history of the books that were on your shelves, the books of our years. Those were the books of our years. Thank you. Just like to take time now to thank Gary Wilson and Adrian Mills for the wonderful journey they took us on. I especially like the part, Gary, where you mentioned how long you took on the toilet. Anyway, next week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you can't stop us laughing.
Thankfully, they can never stop us laughing, can they?
They cannot. Let's go on to part 4. We've still got loads to discuss. Let's get on to it. TV shows of the year.
Well, I don't think this is going to take long because Gary don't watch TV.
No. Do you watch much TV, Gary?
No, I watch a bit of Coronation Street, a few documentaries. I am actually working my way through Rising Damp again, which is proving illuminating.
I bet it is. I bet it's like,
It is still very, very funny and cleverly written. What's interesting about it is that I didn't actually realise that the character of Rigsby was so racist, because we kind of semi-accepted that in those days, of that kind of latent casual racism and sexism. And what was curious about it was it went out at prime time, and on the wall in Alan's flat, there's lots of Page Streetwood girls.
Yeah.
With their tops exposed. And obviously now on TV, they've pixelated it out.
Yeah.
And I just think, like 7 o'clock, that was the society that we were living in. But the writing is still very good. You still know, in the same way that Alf Garnett was a Ronan, that Rigsby is a Ronan as well. That's the clever bit of writing. So just watching that at the moment.
Does that mean, like, on torrent sites, there's Rising Damp Uncut?
Probably.
Rising Damp Uncut. What with the boobs?
Yeah, there will be. There'll be the original edits and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would imagine if you bought it on DVD, it wouldn't be pixelated.
Yeah, of course they will.
Obviously, it would have the boobs in the background.
But you paying good money for that.
Absolutely, I bought them for.
So outside of, I've been watching, and I regularly watch and rewatch almost all Adam Curtis documentaries, because they're all on. Most of them are on iPlayer, so I've been watching all of them TV series, and they're amazing. And there's loads of them, and he's do a new one. Do one now, Adam. I think you need to. So I watch them, and then in terms of TV shows, because there's loads that you can watch, loads. I'm just going to say recent ones. Arcane season 2, which was amazing. If you like Arcane, it's based on the League of Legends game, which is an animated series on Netflix. Very, very good, and the animation style is extraordinary. So definitely check that out.
It's very good. Yeah,
it is. It's borderline nonsensical crazy, but it's well animated nonsensical crazy, and that works for me. There's also a new series on Amazon Prime called Secret Level.
Yeah,
which is a series of 50-minute shorts based on various video games. Again, just tying it into the video game theme, really. Those are also very good, and there's a Warhammer one there for the people that like Warhammer, and it is brilliant. So just, that. And the Pac-Man one is also like the darkest version of Pac-Man you'll ever see. So it appealed to me. But there's a couple of series like that. And interestingly, another one that I've mentioned that isn't game-related necessarily, but it's by the guy that did District 9. So there's a series on, I want to say Amazon Prime or Netflix or one of them, where he's created a series. What's his name? What's the director's name?
Neil Blomkamp.
Neil Blomkamp did a series of short episodes of different sort of just animated sci-fi, not animated, but just sci-fi shows and things, but little 20-minute shorts. And they are also brilliant. One in particular is genuinely one of the best dystopian views of an alien invasion you will ever see in a short burst. It's genuinely brilliant. So check out that. Big series-wise, I'm really enjoying Silo Series 2 on Apple TV, because Silo is an excellent... The Silo books are excellent.
Oh, yeah, again, I read the book. Sci-fi. I read that. Yeah, that was good.
Really good. And so Series 2 is based on the second book of the Silo series. So, and they're pretty faithful to it, has to be said. And it's got your favourite actress in it, Gary, which is the name I can't remember. Rebecca Ferguson.
Rebecca Ferguson.
So she's in that. So it's definitely worth watching. And she's brilliant in it. And it's a very good show. Also, it's got some big name actors in it as well. Somebody called Common. So I don't know. He's apparently very famous.
He's a rapper.
He don't rap in this, though. It's just, he's like you. He's got thin on top but he's shaved on the top. And I'm talking about your head. And I mean, he's got a beard like you. In fact, you could be like the white Common.
I thought you were going to say he's multi-talented. Just like me.
Maybe it's more common. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm well common. So he's common, and I'm well common. Yeah.
You're commoner.
Commoner. But yes, he's in it. And then just my final series, I want to just to mention too, because it's one I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy the second season of, but the third season did bring it in, especially in the last episode, was the TV show From, which is on God knows what channel in the UK. I downloaded it from a
MGM Plus.
MGM Plus. But it's the season 3 was especially towards the end, they've introduced some new elements which were much needed, and it was a real eye opener and a shocker at the end. So definitely worth checking out From. But that's me really. I watched those things amongst many others.
The last scene of From, I was like, oh God, I would have expected that.
No, they led into something, and I was like, it was all the better for it. So there you go.
That's good. I've just finished watching the recent adaptation of Day of the Jackal with Eddie Redmayne in. That was pretty good. There's clearly going to be a season 2.
Okay.
But I thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought it was quite brutal and just well put together.
So it's Days of the Jackal then, really, if it's over.
It's a week.
A week of the Jackal.
Month of the Jackal. Dune Prophecy, which is running at the moment. I think there's 4. I haven't seen the 5th episode yet, but the 4, it's essentially Dune of Thrones. In a sense, so it's much more. It's set 10,000 years before the films, so it's like the birth of the Bene Gesserit witches, and the sort of the their kind of genesis of those, and it's all very political. The guy, if you ever watched Vikings, did you ever watch Vikings?
Some of them.
The guy who played Ragnar, he's in it. He's really good. He's crazy. He's proper like out there. But Mark Strong's in it. There's loads of really good actors, the good actors and actresses in it. It's very good. It's very strong and it's really well shot as well. Really nice. But I'm enjoying that. The Penguin, which was
into them.
I wasn't, but I was. It's a gangster show.
Yeah, I imagine it is. I've given up on all superhero things.
It's nothing to do with superheroes. Nothing. There are no. It's not the Batman sort of pops up. The Batman symbol pops up. It's nothing. It is a gangster show grounded in reality. There's no superhero stuff in it whatsoever. It's about a family that sort of the girl in the family. She comes out of Arkham Asylum and she's trying to take control of the family because the main guy's been the father's been killed. The Falcones, I think it is, but Penguin, who's incredibly played by Colin Farrell, you just can't recognise him, is undermining everything and just being like an agent provocateur to try and get himself. It's really, really
Sounds
good.
like Gangs of London, but with penguins.
It is what it is, but it's really, really good. Really good.
Okay, fair enough.
The other one that I enjoyed from this year, got a lot of coverage at the time, is that Baby Reindeer as well.
Yeah, winning awards, didn't it?
Yeah, obviously uncomfortable to watch in places and really, really, really honest, like you were saying about the Mark Hellman thing. But yeah, very brave sort of thing written. And obviously there's been some controversy about it afterwards, about the veracity of it all and everything. However, the 6 episodes run that it is it starts off as one thing and you think, but then it goes to places you're just not expecting it to. And I just thought it was really
well. The real woman that was portrayed in the thing came onto the TV show, didn't she, with what's his name, and basically shot it all down and said it wasn't real, it wasn't real and true, and it was a false account and blah 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 blah. You know, irrespective of all of that, you know, the story that the guy portrays is horrific, regardless of that part of it as well. It's quite amazing, very honest. That
was very good. Yeah, so those are the kind of standouts for me for this year. I think so far. I think
we're working our way through the Amazon Tolkien's Rings of Power.
Oh, okay, they're beautifully made.
It's very slow. The first season was quite good. This season, it's a bit.
I thought the second one was faster than the second one. I thought the second one, first one dragged.
We are taking forever to get through it because we're like, should we put it on? Shall we not? We're on episode 5 of 8 or something. I guess it's. I wish something would happen.
They get lost in their own lore, don't they? Some of these shows.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's like you said, it's beautiful to look at. Incredible. It's like this. If the special effects in it, like you can show that they spent $1 billion on it or whatever they spent on it. Amazon. All the money's right up on the screen. But you can't fault that. I think my main issue with that
is the source.
Yeah, and I think some of the plotting and the timing of events in it were a bit. Anyway, but Rings of Power. I think there's a lot of internet vitriol aimed towards it for the various obvious reasons from idiots on the internet. But I enjoyed it for what it was. It's more good, good looking fantasy on TV. I'm always okay.
It is. My only complaint is the same as yours. I think they just get. They get like the Marvel series have on Disney. They're just lost in their own lore to the point when you lose track of what the hell's going on really half the time.
Yeah. I have no idea. We had like a month or so between episodes 4 and 5, and I was like, I can't remember what.
Exactly, and that's the problem with it. There's no real hook. They don't have the hook in them anymore.
No, I was really struggling. I was like, which good-looking bad guy is he? Or what's going on?
Yeah,
now?
same. I did that with a little bit with House of the Dragon. And I was watching that. I was kind of just got lost in a little bit of the because they meander a bit. It was good, but they meander a bit, and you're like, you want it to pull its socks up here and there, just like, come on, just tidy that up a bit.
Well, they think because they only had 8 episodes, didn't they? So it's only 8 episodes, and they had planned. I read somewhere that they planned for 10. That's why the ending is like, and then it ended. So usually in Game of Thrones, the big episode is that 9th episode where everything happens, and so it's a weird one. Like that's why the pacing seems like.
Yeah, it was worth watching, but I think some of these shows, Halo is another one. Halo is just lost in its own lore to the point when it's like, in the end, they just made an episode just to appease the fans, because by that point, the fans were basically going to set the studio on fire if they didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Halo, season 2 of Halo was really good. When the Fall of Reach and stuff, and when they got going.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, really
that's what
good.
I mean. It's these two episodes that are good, the middle and the end.
But
lots of hyperbole otherwise.
Cancelled now, though.
Here's the thing, though. Christmas TV specials, right? Because that's a bit of a thing, isn't it? And I was thinking, like, because obviously there was loads of Christmas. Every year, even now to this day, this Christmas, we've got specials of Gavin and Stacey and a whole bunch of other shows. Dancing, whatever you call the dancing show, the Strictly Come Dancing, whatever it's called, and all that. So there's all of these have Christmas specials. It's still a thing, which is amazing, because we had Christmas specials when we were young. What were the memorable ones for you? Or outside of the Noel's house party, the actual specials, the ones that were the BBC specials, what were they?
Only Fools and Horses.
Only Fools and Horses, yeah.
They're the early ones. I think that when they came back, it didn't work. I think they came back when they... Because it should have ended when they get...
early 90s.
Yeah, they should have ended. They became millionaires. Done.
That's it. End.
That's the end. Well done.
Yeah.
Losing it all and coming back.
Those last three, was it last three episodes where you say after them come back? And then they lose it somehow.
Yeah, they had to, I think.
Like, this is really bad. Everything's... And they filmed it differently, didn't they? It was shot.
Yeah.
It wasn't shot on a set. It was shot on location.
Yeah. And the problem was there. No, and it wouldn't do, because the whole remit of that show is that he was never going to be a millionaire, but he was always going to try.
He was going to try.
Yeah, exactly. And he tried every trick in the book to do it. And that's what made his character endearing. Give him £1 million and you don't have Del Boy. You've just got a millionaire who is silly with it. And it just didn't work. So that's why they took it back off him, to try and ground him again. But by then the damage was done, and David...
The damage done.
Yeah, he didn't want to play it anymore. He's like, this is just... It was the stage show's good, though.
It was the... To be fair, because the end to the final one where they become millionaires is brilliantly done, where they come walking out the auction house. And and it's so well done. And you feel for me, it's like, yeah, brilliant. Someone became a millionaire who's been trying and trying and trying, and normally you'd be like, oh, but the way they built it, that was just such a perfect ending, and they ruined it.
Yeah. It should have ended it right there and then.
But back then, so you'd have had like 2 Ronnies Christmas specials would have been a thing.
Yeah.
Morecambe and Wise, or any of those TV shows.
The Morecambe and Wise 1977 special is on again this year.
Wow.
If you wish to watch that. I can't remember what channel it's on.
Mike Yarwood, whatever happened to Mike Yarwood? Maybe he's impersonating somebody to this day. You never know if it's him.
He got stuck in an impersonation. Now we don't know. Where is he gone?
He's in an impersonation loop. It's just like, you can't stop being other people.
That's a what's a Nolan film in it?
Impersonation loop, yeah.
Mike
Yarwood's story, yeah.
I saw a photo a couple of months ago on Twitter of Mike Yarwood. He's actually in a residential home for old actors. And
Where is he?
A photo of him, and he's a photo. There's a photo of him with who was the guy, Man About the House guy, and Robin's Nest.
Oh my God, we talked about him last week.
Richard O'Sullivan.
Yes,
Richard O'Sullivan.
They're both living in the same care home.
There's a TV show waiting to be made.
Imagine if you went into that care home and there would just be like all kinds of stories.
Never the Twain sequel waiting to be made. Right there.
He wants to tell you a story.
It is Bubba Hotep with old 1970s and 80s comedians. How brilliant is that?
Oh dear me.
That's good. Yeah,
okay. I'd probably watch that. But yeah, so you had those kind of specials, didn't you? And then you had the one-off TV specials.
Yeah, but you also had the soap specials, didn't you? So you always had the big. You had the big EastEnders Day special, or the Coronation. And actually, looking at those links that we were sending backwards and forwards, the Coronation Street ones are really boring.
Yeah, I discovered.
Curry is boring.
No, it is very good when it's very good. But those Coronations, it was like, you having a pint? Yeah, I'm having a pint. Oh, do you want a pint? Glass of wine? Oh, look, Audrey's drunk. Whereas the EastEnders ones, they basically were killing people off.
Yeah, bloodbaths.
It was like The Godfather. They were killing people. Coronation Street turned into, I don't know, some lovely, gentle program. And then the other side, half an hour later, it was a bloodbath, as you say. being killed all over the place.
And the odd thing was with Coronation Street, because I was expecting there to be high drama in Coronation Street on Christmas Day.
There was no drama on any of them.
And I found someone has YouTubed every single episode of Coronation Street, including all the Christmas ones. So I'll put a link to the show notes.
I was flicking through them.
Same. I picked some random Christmas episodes thinking this will be juicy. Nothing happened. It was just like Percy was having Christmas dinner. Yes, it was. Percy, pass me the turkey, will you? Hey, you're not having it.
I don't know what you're talking about. They're not going on here now. And there was actually a really good one. I think it was quite early where what's his name? What's the guy? Vera and
Jack.
Yeah.
And he threw out his son because his son was selling off the baby. And that was the famous one where Jack punches his son, and that was actually the height of drama. The rest of it was downhill from that point onwards. It really was.
But it's worth flicking through just for some classic. The people in character singing Christmas carols at the beginning of an episode. There's loads of that. So it starts off one of them with Vera Duckworth rapping a praise. She's like la 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 la, and she gets a cigarette in her mouth. It's really funny. Smoking, you cannot imagine it now.
People smoking on stuff.
You just can't imagine it. And I was expecting there to be loads of Ken Barlow and Mike, fighting. And there isn't. There's one episode where Ken Barlow's shouting at Deirdre because she's discovered his deep dark secret or whatever. And then Deirdre goes into that. She goes into that, Star Trek Cardassian net thing, where she goes, and the net sort of veins burst out. So it's like she's going to. Streamers are going to come out of her mouth and just grab him and eat him.
The glasses get extra big.
They do. And that's the one thing you can do is the scale of their glasses is proportionate to the year. And by the time 2000 comes, they are like they're goldfish bowl globes. They're massive. Their eyes look like Nemo. They're like Disney character big. They're massive.
Anime. She's gone all anime. Anime Deirdre.
I'd pay good money to see that. Coronation Street done in the same style as that anime.
As Akira.
Hello!
Oh no, watch out for giant Deirdre!
Kendo-san! Barlow! Okay, no Deirdre!
Oh no, Jack is turned into Shogun Assassin, watch out!
Liz!
Jesus. Wow. My earphones have exploded.
Coronation
Street goes anime.
Coronation Street manga. Awesome. I'm starting to get the Redux twitch. I can feel it, but I'm not doing that. Time for that.
I do like Christmas telly. I do like Christmas telly.
It's good. Big, I don't know, big sort of Christmas special. So, like I said, the Only Fools and Horses ones are the ones I remember. There was always things like Vicar Dibley and all those ones.
I never liked any of them.
Birds of a Feather. It was always whatever the big sort of TV shows of the year wasn't it?
Do you know the ones I used to like was, and everyone hated them? It was the Noel's Christmas presents in the morning, and it used to be like from the BT Tower, and it would be basically an hour of dying children.
Oh, you chirpy bugger!
Have a laugh with Gary Wilson, because the other one was Surprise, Surprise. I'm sure there's a surprise Christmas special with
on blind date Christmas specials and all that. But surprise! You haven't seen him for 6 Christmases, but here he is. It's your Uncle Fred. We didn't know that he'd been, it wasn't the best uncle to you.
We didn't want to see him. There's a reason we've not seen him.
We didn't know he'd stolen your candelabras and set that chip pen on fire 10 years ago that killed your cat. We didn't know that. But we do. It's all about forgiveness.
Contact with us.
You can't stop us frying, can you?
Can't stop us frying. No. That surprise! That was a load of old rubbish, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. But only thing I watched, and I made sure I watched every Christmas until they stopped doing it properly, was Top of the Pops, of course, for me.
Oh yeah.
Top of the Pops.
I didn't generally watch.
Always the dinner time TV. Where you're, if you were eating in the TV.
You'd always be watching Top of the Pops with your whole family, and then like Gina G would come on in a very small outfit, and you'd be like, okay, I am now watching the telly. Okay,
you would.
I bet you made that sound as well, and everyone in the room just gulped and looked away. Like,
you'd be like, "Oh my days, it's Susie Quattro or whatever."
Gary's having a Gina moment.
This is Gina G. Oh God.
Just a little bit. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
A little bit more.
Just in the remote control, just like try and get the remote control off him. For God's sake.
He's pressing pause.
He's rubbing the buttons that Addy's going to wear the bloody numbers off.
Banana
where ITV is.
Or whatever. You'd be like, I can't. I've got to get through Bananarama, otherwise it's just not going to work today, is it?
Bloody stop him, Madge is going to bloody shoot out a dart at that telly like a wax bloody bullet.
Oh, God.
It's got 3-inch thick glass on that telly and it's not going to be strong enough.
Nothing will get through that CRT.
No.
I won't put money on that. He'll lit the speaker and we'll never get it out. It won't sound the same. It'll all sound claggy.
This is some of the most unpleasant imagery I've ever heard in my life.
I agree, but yes. So that was the thing I'd watch. I never really watched any TV on daytime anyway, and it was only really till I didn't watch the Queen's Speech or any of that. Sad to say, wasn't my thing.
No.
And generally speaking, I didn't really pick up the TV again till way later on, probably for the Christmas movie or something like. If I was about, if I wasn't going out to, or going upstairs to my bedroom to just, do nothing.
Yeah.
I watched Gina G maybe.
Yeah.
Gary was going up not to do nothing. That was the problem.
No. Just the stereo went on very loud.
And he took a cup of tea up with him. So
Don't disturb me with my tea and brown sauce sandwiches.
there's no cheese on there when he went up.
Took a big glass of water, so he replaced his electrolytes for.
Is that Primula?
Oh my days!
He needs the sugars, the natural sugars after that.
Let's move on. God's sake.
Yes.
Move on. Away from Gina G, we've got a couple more sections. Let's just talk about. I'll talk probably about this one more. It's games. We are a gaming podcast. We do play games. Well, I do. Gary, you played some Boulder Dash, I see.
Oh, I loved. One of my Christmas memories actually was what's it been 85? Was it? I remember at the end of Christmas Day, the CRT was on the table at the back of the living room, and me and my dad were playing Boulder Dash for what seemed like hours, just hours.
Very, very addictive game. I can see why.
Oh, incredible! Just like sitting there. Was that 1985? Do you think Boulder Dash came out in 84? Didn't it?
You're right,
yeah.
Was it 84?
It was on a turbo tape, wasn't it?
I don't think it was the first year. I think it was the second year, but not. But anyway, yeah, that was my memory of a Christmas and gaming.
Yeah. Well, if it was before Christmas, you wouldn't have been able to play Paradroid because you got it and I copied it, and you had to have it wrapped up, didn't you?
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Paradroid
we went
at
into town,
Christmas.
you bought it. I went, let me just take it home, and you went, and you took it back. I copied it. You took it back, and your mum wrapped it up. And I was playing it.
You could have done him a copy of your copy.
I could have done many things.
That was halcyon days. Halcyon days for me gaming, but obviously not anymore.
Yeah.
No, same. I didn't play any games. I didn't really play a lot of games on Christmas Day, but even when I had a C64, to be honest, I didn't get any games for Christmas either. Never, even when I had just a tape deck. I never got discs or games. By that point, I didn't need to. I didn't ask for them because I didn't need any games off anyone. I was busy getting them through the pirate scene. And nowadays, I don't play any games whatsoever, modern ones at all, none, and I never will. So.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think I mentioned last year when we did the Christmas one. That was I got the colour TV, the classic Ferguson Video Star for Christmas, which allowed me to play games
standard issue
in colour.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great. But just for this year, I'm just going to mention some more modern games. Obviously, we've been playing C64 games, but so some games that you might want to look at. Are these not necessarily? I don't think any. Maybe one of them I think is actually from this year. There's a game called Evil West that I thoroughly enjoyed. I think if you played that, Graham, if you were to give something a go, you'd probably enjoy that. It's very much in the beat 'em up genre, so your God of Wars type thing, but it's set in Wild West and you're fighting vampires and werewolves and stuff. It's pretty good. Modern
gaming days are done. I can't do it anymore.
Cocoon, which is a really, really clever puzzle game. I won't spoil what it does, but it's one of them games where you're like, this is so clever. Thank Goodness You're Here, which is very funny. It's set around, it's a first slap former where you basically wander around this northern town, annoying the residents and doing little jobs for them. And it's very funny, very northern, very Yorkshire. And finally, Marvel's Spider-Man. If you want a game that like makes you go, oh, this is where modern video games are technology-wise, then these Spider-Man games are just astonishing. They're like, you're playing them and it's like, I don't know how this is running in real time on anything. It's just incredible when you do look at like modern, really top tier AAA $300 million video games. That's how much they cost to make. The Marvel Spider-Man series is just incredible, and you're playing them. You're like,
so for that money,
bloody hell! You're like, you can't. But they're just astonishing. They really are. But also as well, it's a very good game as well. So those are the.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you've never lost your fascination and that enthusiasm for games. I think that's amazing. I mean, I totally have, but I totally appreciate that you haven't. I think it's amazing. It's just that you can hear it in your voice and everything. I cannot get into them anymore. I just can't. I have to take my glasses off to read the screen. It's all computers are smashed. Everything's inoperable. I'm Kirk in the Wrath of Khan at the Enterprise when it's smashed. We need more time. The computers need more time. That's my brain. But I mean, your enthusiasm for them is amazing. So if you're saying they're good, and let's face it, at one point in time, you got me back into games when I hadn't played them. So I would imagine those are particularly good to play. I know I'm never going to get the time. And Gary, do you play games at all other than Rummy?
No. No.
That's a deep pull. You were always a Rummy man.
I have no idea what Rummy is.
Card game.
I thought so, but I didn't like to say.
Yeah. I can't remember I don't know. I'm playing a game called Control at the moment, and again, another one where you're just like, bloody hell, these visuals, these control, just stuff about them is astonishing. It's the artwork and the artistry and the fact that it all runs and does what it's supposed to do, and while looking, I don't know, blow my brain.
They are incredible. Yeah,
obviously I teach game design and everything like that, so that's why it's something I love doing. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky in that I get to do the job that I love and make small games and stuff myself as well. So I appreciate that. I'm quite lucky that way.
This is a beautiful moment, Adrian. I think we've just had a marvelous moment.
We did.
There you go. That's the games part. All right. Anything else? Anything else before
before Gary jumps in with his list of death? I just wanted to. I found out a few interesting things, and I thought these are the sort of important stats from 2024 you might need to know.
Go on, go for it.
We'll put these linked in the show notes. So the most popular dinner of 2024 in UK was chili con carne.
Oh, I like a bit of chili con carne.
Exactly. So does the rest of Britain. So
it's all right, but it's my partner makes the best chicken and chorizo paella. It's absolutely gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
That's I like good. A bit of that. I do like that.
Paella.
Well, make sure you marry that one. She's a keeper.
When I come around your house, we're going to have to get it to make it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So leading horses of 2024, because I know, Gary, this is important to you. Sierra Leone earned nearly $6 million with a 43% win rate. So
is that a horse?
That's a horse. Yes.
Oh, okay.
In fact, the top five: Sierra Leone, Mystic Dan, Torpedo Anna, or Torpedo, but Torpedo, Fierceness, and Rebels Romance. That's an Irish horse.
What was that Dan one?
That's Mystic Dan. To complete the top 10. Number 6, National Treasure. Number 7, Seize the Grey, because there's a type of horse called a grey. Number 8 is Dornock. Number 9 is Cogburn. And number 10 is Drakdar. No, it's not really. It's immersive. But there you go. You can read the rest of the top list of those. There's hundreds of those. Don't go crazy over that. I didn't go through and see it's what the best-selling car was, but we'll put a link to to Top Gear, meet the winners of the Top Gear car awards. I thought that would be more interesting than it was, and it wasn't interesting at all.
No, I can't imagine it being interesting at all.
And then I just randomly put in
was it a Volvo station wagon?
Volvo, safety and good mileage. The last of the things on the Top Gear. And then I tried to find out what the best ham was of 2024, because there's a lot of hams out there.
I did look at the hams.
And then there actually is. I found a link on SeriousEats.com. There is a list of the best hams. And the Omaha Steaks Duroc Boneless County Ham is a moist, flavourless, boneless ham, and it's the winner.
Flavourless?
So there you go. Well,
flavourless?
Flavourful. I don't know, I said flavourless.
Flavourless.
And then you've got the Snake River Farms Kurabuta half boneless ham.
To be fair, if Billy Bear's not on that list, I don't want to know.
Well, I think these are all very American, though, because it turns out America is the home of ham. So there you go.
They love a bit of ham over there. I looked at that webpage.
Exactly. Now, we have a lot of Australian listeners to the podcast, and my question to them would be, what is your favourite ham of 2024? And feel free to email in about that, because I think I, for one, would be very interested in that. So I just thought, now you can do your list of death now, Gary, if you want.
My list basically was a part of a discussion about famous events in 2024. So I thought, well, what happened in 2024? People died.
No one died.
Someone died.
So
yes. Someone died.
There was a huge list that I took off the deadline.com website, which went on forever. And actually, there was just hundreds of artists and cinematographers and so on and so on. So there is a kind of a list. So there's a few people who died in the music world. So David Soul died this year. What a
neat guy. What a neat guy.
Mm-hmm. So that was a moment. Frank Farian died recently.
Who's
he? Who Frank Farian is?
No.
You do. He was the guy behind Boney M.
Okay.
And then who else was he behind? Who he put together?
Milli Vanilli.
What, literally?
Yes, you have spoken about them as Milli Vanilli. So he was the guy behind the Milli Vanilli.
Now, did Frank Farian die, or was it somebody that he got in as a substitute that just looked a bit like him?
Frank Marion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You could tell it was singing Rasputin as he died.
Yeah, exactly. One of the greatest British rappers died, Kashif Adder, better known as MC Duke.
Oh, you used to rage about that. Yeah, MC Duke.
The best British hip hop track of all time, I'm Riffin', was MC Duke, 1988.
I'll take your word for that.
Unbelievable. Sampled hundreds of times in techno and dance tracks. That guy, Paul Di'Anno from Iron Maiden, he died recently.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Well, original Iron Maiden. Yeah, the first album.
Yeah, he was just before. He was before Dickinson.
Bruce Dickinson. Yeah, and then obviously Blaze Bayley for a short period of time.
Yeah, Blaze Bayley. What a name that is.
Yeah.
Then Steve Albini. Herbie Flowers died. You know Herbie Flowers?
I do, but I don't know why I know the name, but I do.
He was the guy behind the Walk on the Wild Side bass line.
Of course he was,
literally hundreds and hundreds of tracks.
Boom, boom, boom.
Exactly, that was him. Chris Christopherson, Annie Knight, Steve Wright. Steve Wright passed.
You know, Chris Christopherson isn't dead. You know that, right? Because
he's
in Blade. Dead. No, he's not. Like in Blade, they'll find him in a tube in about 10 years, so it's been living on the blood of some vampire.
Or just keeping him alive. Just drive past in the back of a truck.
Yeah, rubber ducky or whatever it was. Yeah. Quack. Quincy Jones. That is a sad lot. Quincy Jones. Yeah.
Quincy Jones. Yeah, he was the 91. What a career! And do you know who he was married to for a short time?
Mrs. Jones.
Mrs. Jones.
No.
Bobby Jones.
Davy Jones.
And his locker.
No.
So if there was a bone of contention between them, we put that locker down.
No.
Mitch Cumstein.
The lady who ran the diner in Twin Peaks, Norma.
Oh, right. Okay. How mad is that?
Yeah.
What's her real name?
That was his wife. Oh, Peggy.
That's the name.
Peggy something.
Norma Jones.
No, it's Peggy.
Several barrels.
Peggy. She was a model and an actress. Not Peggy Sue. Peggy something or another.
Betty Lou?
No, but anyway, I think he was married. They had a couple of kids. Okay. So then we
what were they
talk
called?
About movie people. Oh my God, you've got Wikipedia there. Let me find out yourself.
Bobby Sue.
You're bringing this knowledge to the podcast, Gary. We expect you to do some research.
I'm sparking a conversation. That's what I'm doing.
Peggy Sue, Boogaloo.
Bloody find out.
Electric and Boogaloo.
Well, that's the kind of name that Quincy Jones would go for.
When you put them together, you get breakdance too.
We do.
What famous actors died this year? We had Donald Sutherland, very famous.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
He was actually Canadian. I always thought he was American.
I thought he was English. I don't know why.
You thought he was English?
Yeah, but I was getting mixed up with someone else.
I can't
Donald
think of any other
Sinden.
English actors.
Donald Sinden.
Not Donald Cinder, no.
I think we're all being taken over by aliens.
No, not that. None of them.
So looking down this list, there's actually, I thought that Carl Weathers had died years ago, but he's obviously died.
We had on for a while.
Just on stage.
So harsh. Such a harsh critic of him. You always have been.
I was, he wasn't funny.
He wasn't funny. He was briefly good in that Mandalorian show for a bit, wasn't he?
He was.
All the Star Wars characters dying there, aren't they? James Earl Jones, Carl Weathers, goodness.
Yeah. Louis Gossett Jr. I love a bit of Officer and Gentleman.
Oh, God, that was him, wasn't it?
I preferred him in Iron Eagle.
I knew you could say that. And Iron Eagle 2.
Is he in that? Is he in that Alien one? What's he in that? Is he in that Alien Mine? Is it? Is he in that one, or whatever it's called?
Enemy Mine.
Enemy Mine, yeah, one of them.
Is he Alien
James
in that?
Caan?
No, the one with Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid, I think it's James Caan. That's the TV show, isn't it? Yeah, I think
Dennis Caan was in a thing about aliens.
Is that Louis Gossett Jr.?
The Alien Nation you were thinking about?
Yeah.
Alien Nation.
They're aliens at the end of the day, aren't they?
Whatever.
Shelley Duvall, goodness me, she's gone as well.
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah.
Shelley Duvall, very good.
Yozza Hughes.
Yeah.
Bernard Hill.
Yeah.
Bernard Hill.
If you watch the Lord of the Rings films, you sort of think he's the most depressing character in those Lord of the Rings films. Everything is dark and doomy. Just watch him and it's just like, oh God.
He's like that.
Have a laugh with Theoden.
Is he the captain of the Titanic as well?
He is.
Yes, he is.
He is. Yeah.
In the film, not for real. I mean, that'd be weird.
No, he was. He's lived a long life. 84 years.
Shannon Doherty. That was no age for her to pass, was it? That's
53. She was tragic.
She never got out of the box.
Really.
Not that there's an age limit. Like you don't reach a certain age when it's okay to pass.
What do you want talk about a box? What box did she bloody get put in? What?
What's she in the?
What's that box?
Am I thinking? I'm thinking of Sherilyn Fenn.
No, Sherilyn Fenn.
You're thinking of Sherilyn Fenn. Sherilyn Fenn was in the box, wasn't she?
She was in
Boxing Helena.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Sorry.
Dark-haired American beauties.
They just merge into one.
She was in. She's in Beverly Hills 90210, famously, wasn't she?
That's right.
Who's Shannon Doherty? Charmed, wasn't it? Wasn't she in Charmed?
Charmed as well.
She may have been. Yeah, may have been.
Yeah, she was the one about the witches.
Not that charmed.
No.
About the witches. No.
Alan Delon.
Borsalino.
Most stylish man alive.
Exactly. It was. Yeah, the most stylish man dead. He probably got buried in a bit of Armani or something.
Yeah, probably.
He did, yeah.
He looks better. He looks better sort of 6 months dead than I do alive. Probably.
He died in reverse. He actually gets better looking as he rots.
The curious case of Alan Delon.
Yeah, he was a very striking person, wasn't he? Of course.
Very good looking guy.
Always on strike. He never wanted to work. He never wanted to work. I was on strike.
No.
Bloody layabout. Borsalino and Co. Do you remember when we watched Borsalino and Co, Gary? We watched an entire crappy. I think it's Italian, but I want to say Italian. Might be French, but it was a movie called Borsalino, which has got Alan Delon in it. It's one of many Borsalino movies. And there's a bit in it where a guy gets shoved in a train engine, in the actual engine of a train, the steam engine, like they shove him in the coal compartment at the beginning, which is pretty gross. And all we did for the rest of the film was just watch to see if there was any boobs. We watched a 2-hour movie just to see if there was Euro boobs, and there wasn't really any in it. We were like, oh, this is so boring.
This is very disappointing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That must have been
up to like 4 a.m, just watching this crappy thing on Channel 4 just in case. Terrible.
Who's John Ashton?
John Ashton. He was Beverly Hills Cop. And
no, he wasn't. That was Eddie Murphy.
He's
younger guy. He's the younger one of the two, and he and the cops.
That's Judge Reinhold.
No, he's the old. That's Judge Reinhold.
That's what I mean. It's the other one.
The other one. The older cop
the one with
a bit
the one with the
cynical.
tash.
I think that's
he's
it.
Cynical and a bit hard-boiled and a bit fed up with life.
He was someone. He was he Molly Ringwald's dad in Pretty in Pink?
He was either that or the dad in Some Kind of Wonderful.
It's one of the dads, isn't he? One of those two. Yeah.
I think it's Some Kind of Wonderful.
It's Some Kind of Wonderful because it's Harry Dean Stanton in Pretty in Pink.
Eric Stoltz's dad. You've got to do better than this, child. You've got to go down. He's always pushing his sons to go. Like it was good acting.
Yeah.
And then finally, Jim Abrams.
Yeah, sad.
Died.
No more Police Squad.
Well,
No,
the Naked Gun films are all on over Christmas, by the way, just to let you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wonder what the devil he wanted.
he's got a picture of your wife in his wallet.
When I'm feeling a bit depressed and a bit down, I always put on the taxi sequence in Naked Gun 3, and when that guy says, "What the devil did he want?" or whatever it is he says, I just burst into absolute apoplexy. It's beautifully acted and timed, and the delivery from everybody concerned is just amazing. But I did read one of his obituaries, and it was on either Deadline or Variety, and it said about Kentucky Fried Movie, and saying some parts of the Kentucky Fried Movie obviously are not for modern sensibilities. And I was thinking, well, it wasn't that offensive. I know the scenes that they're on about, which is,
They've taken loads of them out now, though. Those. It's like if you try and watch It Came from Hollywood, there's an entire 32 minutes of that missing, I think, where they just can't show entire sections of it because it's got things like Song of the South in it and all that horrible stuff. So
yeah, I get that.
But well done, Gary. We made a morbid topic quite the laughathon.
Well, that sounds like my marriage.
And on that note,
on that Christmassy bombshell,
absolutely.
Ooh.
Oh, so you're looking forward to presents this Christmas? Just as a final thing, Gary, what was on your Christmas list this year?
Peace for all concerned across this beautiful planet of ours.
No, I mean from your wife, not a global bullshit.
I don't know. It's probably going to be a Tangerine Dream CD or something, isn't it?
Again, get something original, you boring bloody
Surely
dreamer.
you've got them all.
Yes, in triplicate.
He had last Christmas, but they've released 17 more this year.
Exactly. Well, last year, his wife bought him a chest full of video discs.
They weren't compatible with my system.
They weren't compatible, yeah. You can't record on them.
What good were they? That's what he said when he opened them. He threw them back at her.
No, he opened them. He looked to his kids and went, "Gather around me, buckos, and feast your eyes on this."
Do you know what? I still say that phrase. I'll just be randomly around someone's house and I'll say, "Gather around my buckos."
Yeah, same.
And everyone will go, "What are you talking about?"
I still say neutralise the electroscan very regularly. So.
Oh dear! I think maybe the next time we all get together, we'll have to have an Amazon Women on the Moon.
Yes, I watch it every year. It's on the same time every year. Just out of I've got the DVD. So
maybe we should watch Kentucky Fried Movie and Amazon Women.
We should. You realise that Kentucky Fried Movie isn't as funny as you remember it, but Amazon Women remains funny. But it's good.
Yeah, but that sequence in the when he's like in the jail with the Bruce Lee Enter the Dragon bit, where he goes, "This man is drunk and does not care."
Yeah, that is quite funny.
That is the funniest thing in the whole thing.
That is funny. That is good.
Yeah,
people should seek it out on YouTube. Cool. Yes. Well, I wish you obviously all a very merry, safe.
Yes,
and you, and we hope all our listeners. If you're listening to this whenever, if you've listened to this on Christmas Day, we hope you're having a good one. If you listen to this afterwards, we hope you had a good one and you're having a good New Year period and have festive period. You've had time to relax, recuperate, recharge the batteries and all those kind of things that we do over Christmas, and hopefully you've had time to spend time with loved ones and all that sort of thing.
This is it.
And it's very good. But just before we go, we had someone send us a message on Facebook that was quite nice.
Okay.
This is it's Stephen Q Design, so you'll know who he is. I've asked him if we can read out. He said, "Hey, Graham and Adrian, I just had to send a message. Having listened to all of your amazing, insightful, and unbelievably funny podcasts, I recently listened to episode 150. I loved the worthy feedback from your listeners at the time and chuckled at the many references that are attributed to mine and many others' reasons behind wanting to support your efforts, from the depths of many a dog egg, culminating to the point where many a bleep are very apt, to the true enjoyment and appreciation of ability, passion, and wanting to provide value in every one of the 1,099 pence. I do not look forward to the day that the ocean-fed Bullstein events of the chapters comes to a predefined end. A sad day where the cavernous hole will reside. Thematic description and the brown-based breadboard will never be the same. If you could clarify and apologise for asking, are you in any way affiliated to Zap? He's just asking for a friend."
That's become our shtick now, isn't it, really? The whole we're not affiliated.
We're not affiliated. I can clarify that. But first of all, thank you very much for the very kind words. We're glad you enjoyed it. We love people reaching out, sending us messages. It's always cool. And thank you for sending that. We are not affiliated with Zap in any way.
Nope. nor shall we ever be.
No, we won't. But yeah, it's always cool when we get that. I'd also like just to say a big thank you to all our patrons as well. They're cool. They're great. There is something I'm going to be doing over the Patreon and over the Discord and stuff over the Christmas.
Yeah.
So you'll probably be in the middle of that as we're going now. It's something good. So hopefully that's been going on. I've got a little plan.
Cool.
So that should be ongoing, hopefully. If I haven't done it, then you can hold me to task here. Go, you didn't do it. And I'm like, well,
exactly.
If I say it, I've got to do it now. So,
and of course, our sponsors for next year are BIP and our Titan mascot. There they are, everybody. It's a BIP. Hi, everybody. Hi, George.
Yeah. Just leaves me to thank Ray.
Ray.
Ray. He's not got a date for Christmas. Poor old Ray.
Friday night. Ain't got a date.
And obviously, usual stick. If you want to support us, you can do. We have a Patreon. That's patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. We have a Ko-fi. It's ko-fi/Zapped to the Past. Come, chat on all the social medias.
Yes.
And say hello, or just generally, or leave us a review and all that sort of stuff. It does help. And I think that's about it. That's about Christmas done for this year.
That's it.
Any of you two got anything you'd like to say? I'll hand over to Gary first. I'll hand to Gary first. As our guest, Gary, anything you wish to say?
Gary guest.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all your podcast friends, and big love to everybody. And I look forward at some point to being on again.
Yes.
You surely shall. Yeah, I look forward to it too. Graham, anything you want to say?
No, same. Happy holidays. However you choose to, celebrate, go and celebrate. Get out there, listen to the podcast. There's 170 odd episodes for you to go at. Maybe avoid the first 20 if you just want to get straight in. The production's not as good on them, but they're all there. But Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you again soon. Gary will, of course, have you on the podcast again. In fact, we must really, because we're getting to the point where we don't know enough about the music that's coming out, because it's getting beyond our remit of what we were listening to, certainly for me.
Yeah, very much so.
So we need to maybe lean in on your expertise. But other than that, that's me over and out.
So there we go. So once again, thank you very much for listening. All it remains for me to say is, as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
I have been Graham Raddings.
I have been Gary Wilson.
And you've been listening to the Zapped to the Past Christmas Cracker. And we'll see you in the new year. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zapped 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zapped 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.